Letting go, it sounds simple, but in practice, it's one of the hardest things we can do. Whether it's people, past experiences, or overwhelming situations, the act of releasing something we're deeply attached to can feel like losing a part of ourselves. But here's the truth. Holding on too tightly often causes more suffering than letting go ever will. Learning to let go isn't about detachment from life. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional chains that keep you stuck. In this episode, we're diving into how to let go of people and situations using insights from Buddhist philosophy and modern psychology. You'll learn how to unlock the power of detachment, when to step back for mental clarity, and how to set healthy emotional boundaries. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means making space for what truly matters. By letting go, you don't lose control. You gain the freedom to focus on what truly matters. By the end of this episode, you'll have the tools to release what no longer serves you and move forward with a lighter heart, greater peace of mind, and a renewed sense of purpose. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Unlocking the power of detachment. When most people hear the word detachment, they assume it means apathy or indifference, caring less, feeling less, or withdrawing from life. But in truth, detachment is not about removing emotions. It's about freeing yourself from the need to control things you can't control. It's about maintaining your inner peace, regardless of what happens around you. Attachment often comes from fear of losing people, situations, or even versions of ourselves. But the irony is, the tighter we hold on to something, the more it controls us. When we become overly attached, we tie our happiness to external factors. Other people's opinions, the outcome of a situation, or material possessions. And when those things change or slip away, as they inevitably do, we suffer. Buddhism teaches that true freedom comes not from controlling everything around us, but from controlling how we respond. Epictetus, a Buddhist philosopher, famously said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Detachment in this sense doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You stop expecting life to conform perfectly to your desires, and instead you learn to adapt, to flow with change rather than resist it. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you grip it too tightly, most of it slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, it stays in your palm. This is the essence of detachment. It's not about pushing things away. It's about holding them lightly without letting them define your inner state. To unlock the power of detachment, start by asking yourself, what am I clinging to that's causing me stress or anxiety? www.muji. Or it could be a relationship where you feel overly responsible for the other person's happiness, a situation at work where you're trying to control every outcome, or even a past event that you can't seem to let go of. Recognizing what you're attached to is the first step toward releasing its hold on you. Next, practice mindful acceptance. This doesn't mean passively accepting everything that happens. It means acknowledging what's outside your control and choosing how to respond. For example, if someone's behavior is upsetting you, instead of trying to change them, focus on setting boundaries and managing your own emotions. You can care deeply about someone while still maintaining a healthy level of emotional detachment. Here's something practical you can do. Each day, take 5 minutes to reflect on one thing you're attached to that's causing you stress. Ask yourself, is this something I can control, or is it something I need to let go of? If it's outside your control, practice mentally releasing it by saying, I choose to let go of what I cannot control. This simple exercise helps train your mind to focus on what matters and let go of unnecessary burdens. Ask yourself, am I holding on because I truly care, or because I'm afraid of what will happen if I let go? Fear-based attachment only leads to suffering, while healthy detachment creates space for growth, freedom, and peace. Remember, detachment isn't about abandoning people or responsibilities. It's about protecting your inner world from being thrown into chaos by external events. It's about showing up fully, but without clinging to outcomes. When you unlock the power of detachment, you begin to experience life with greater clarity, balance, and emotional resilience. You free yourself from the weight of things you cannot control, and in doing so, you find a lighter, more peaceful way to live. Lesson 2. Stepping back for mental clarity. When life feels overwhelming, when emotions are high and your mind is clouded, it's easy to react impulsively, make poor decisions, or let stress take over. In these moments, one of the most powerful things you can do is step back. Taking a step back isn't about avoidance. It's about creating space between your emotions and your actions so you can gain mental clarity. When you're caught up in the intensity of a situation, everything feels urgent. Your mind races with thoughts, your emotions escalate, and it becomes harder to think clearly. But by pausing and stepping back, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally, you give yourself the opportunity to see the situation from a different perspective. This practice helps you respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Imagine a painter standing too close to their canvas. Up close, all they see are individual brushstrokes and small imperfections, making it difficult to understand the full picture. But when they take a few steps back, they gain a clearer view of the entire painting. The same principle applies to your mind. When you step back from overwhelming situations, you gain perspective. You can see the problem for what it really is, rather than through the distorted lens of heightened emotions. Transcribed stepping back can be as simple as taking a deep breath, going for a short walk, or even journaling your thoughts. These small actions create mental distance, allowing your emotions to settle and your mind to regain its balance. Once you've created that distance, you're in a better position to reflect on what's truly happening and decide how to respond in a way that aligns with your values. Buddhism teaches us that clarity comes from calmness. Buddha wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." By stepping back, you take control of your mind, refusing to let external chaos dictate your internal state. This is where real strength lies, not in controlling every situation, but in controlling how you perceive and respond to it. Here's something practical you can do. The next time you feel overwhelmed by a situation, practice the pause technique. Before reacting, pause for 10 seconds, take a deep breath, count to 10, or simply close your eyes for a moment. In that brief pause, ask yourself, what's the best response here? Not the quickest or easiest, but the one that aligns with who I want to be. This small practice can drastically improve your ability to make thoughtful, clear decisions. Another method is perspective journaling. When you're feeling stuck or emotionally charged, take 5 to 10 minutes to write down your thoughts as if you were giving advice to a friend in the same situation. This practice helps you step outside your emotions and view the problem from a more objective angle. Ask yourself, am I too close to this situation to see it clearly? If the answer is yes, step back. Give yourself the time and space to reflect. Not every situation requires an immediate reaction, and often the wisest actions come after moments of calm reflection. Remember, stepping back isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. It's a deliberate act of choosing clarity over chaos, reflection over reaction. By making it a habit to step back when things feel overwhelming, you cultivate a calmer, more thoughtful approach to life. You learn to see challenges for what they are, temporary obstacles, not permanent problems, and in doing so, you regain control over your mind and your emotions. When you master the art of stepping back, you not only make better decisions, you also create a life where peace of mind becomes your default state, no matter what storms life throws your way. Lesson 3. Deciding when to distance yourself. One of the hardest decisions we face in life is knowing when to distance ourselves from people or situations. Whether it's a draining relationship, a toxic work environment, or even a personal habit that no longer serves you, holding on too long can take a toll on your emotional health. But how do you know when it's time to create that distance? And more importantly, how can you do it in a way that aligns with your values and preserves your peace? The first step in making this decision is self-awareness. Ask yourself, is this relationship or situation helping me grow, or is it holding me back? Growth doesn't always feel comfortable, so it's important to distinguish between temporary discomfort that leads to improvement and persistent negativity that drains your energy. If something consistently leaves you feeling anxious, unappreciated, or diminished, it might be time to consider creating distance. Many people struggle with distancing themselves because of guilt. You may feel responsible for other people's feelings or worry that creating distance makes you a bad person. But the truth is, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for maintaining your well-being. Buddhism teaches us that we can't control other people, only our own actions and choices. Epictetus said we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Distancing yourself is a response, a deliberate act of protecting your emotional health. It's also helpful to reflect on your values. Does staying in this situation or relationship align with who you want to be? Sometimes we stay in unhealthy dynamics out of habit or fear of change. But if staying means compromising your values or well-being, it's worth considering a different path. Remember, creating distance doesn't mean you're abandoning someone or giving up. It means you're choosing to prioritize your peace and personal growth. Once you've decided it's time to create distance, the next step is to do it quietly and respectfully. There's no need for grand declarations or confrontations unless they're absolutely necessary. In many cases, simply spending less time with a person or gradually disengaging from a situation is enough. This quiet approach allows you to protect your energy without adding unnecessary drama. Here's something practical you can do. If you're unsure whether it's time to distance yourself, try a trial separation. Give yourself a set period, say 2 weeks, where you intentionally limit your engagement with a person or situation. During this time, pay attention to how you feel. Are you calmer, more focused? Do you miss the interaction, or do you feel relieved without it? This trial period can provide valuable insight into whether creating permanent distance is the right choice. Ask yourself, am I staying out of obligation, or because this truly adds value to my life? If the answer leans toward obligation or guilt, it might be time to take a step back. Remember, you can care about someone and still choose to protect your boundaries. Distance doesn't erase love or respect. It preserves your well-being. Another key factor to consider is communication. While quiet distancing works in many cases, some situations may require an honest conversation. If the relationship is worth preserving but needs adjustment, consider expressing your feelings and setting clear boundaries. Sometimes creating distance isn't about cutting ties. It's about redefining the relationship in a way that works for both parties. Remember, deciding when to distance yourself is about choosing what serves your growth and well-being. It's not about blame or resentment. It's about creating space for clarity, peace, and personal development. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you make room for healthier relationships, better opportunities, and a life that aligns with your values. Ultimately, life is too short to stay stuck in situations that drain your energy. By learning when and how to distance yourself, you take an important step toward living with greater purpose, peace, and self-respect. Lesson 4: Building trust through meaningful conversations when life feels overwhelming. One of the most powerful ways to find clarity and emotional relief is by engaging in deep, meaningful conversations with trusted individuals. Human connection isn't just a source of comfort. It's a path to insight, growth, and emotional healing. Talking through your feelings with someone you trust can help you gain new perspectives, challenge negative thought patterns, and uncover solutions you may not have considered on your own. But here's the key. Not every conversation builds trust. Surface-level small talk or exchanges filled with judgment don't lead to real connection. Trust is built when conversations are honest, vulnerable, and supportive. When both parties feel safe enough to share without fear of being misunderstood or criticized. It's about opening up, but also about listening deeply and without judgment. In Buddhist philosophy, trust and open dialogue were seen as essential for personal growth. The Buddhists valued conversations that challenged their thinking in a respectful and thoughtful way. Wise monk once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." In other words, seek out people who encourage your growth, not just those who echo your thoughts. Meaningful conversations aren't just about venting. They're about learning, reflecting, and evolving. To build trust through conversations, it's important to create an environment of mutual respect and empathy. This means listening without interrupting, validating the other person's feelings, and offering support rather than unsolicited advice. Often people don't need solutions. They need to feel heard and understood. Simply saying, "I understand how you feel," or "I'm here for you," can go a long way in strengthening trust. If you're seeking clarity about a difficult situation, don't hesitate to reach out to someone you trust. This could be a close friend, a mentor, or even a professional counselor. The act of speaking your thoughts out loud helps you organize them, and hearing an outside perspective can offer insights you may have missed. Just make sure the person you're opening up to is someone who respects your boundaries and offers a safe space for sharing. Here's something practical you can do. Identify 1 or 2 people in your life whom you trust deeply. The next time you feel stuck or overwhelmed, reach out to them for a meaningful conversation. Start by saying something like, I've been feeling stressed, confused, overwhelmed about something, and I'd really value your perspective or just someone to talk to. Framing the conversation this way invites them to listen without feeling pressured to solve the problem. At the same time, be open to offering support when someone comes to you. Building trust is a two-way street. It's about giving as much as receiving. Practice being present, listening actively, and offering empathy when someone shares their struggles with you. This reciprocity deepens the connection and creates a foundation of trust that benefits both of you. Ask yourself, do I have trusted individuals in my life with whom I can have meaningful conversations? If the answer is yes, nurture those relationships. If not, consider seeking out new connections through supportive communities, groups, or even professional networks where trust and open dialogue are valued. Remember, trust isn't built overnight. It's cultivated through repeated acts of vulnerability, empathy, and understanding. By engaging in meaningful conversations, you not only gain clarity and emotional relief, but you also strengthen the bonds that support you through life's ups and downs. In a world filled with surface-level interactions, meaningful conversations are a rare and valuable gift. They remind you that you're not alone, help you see things from a new perspective, and provide the emotional support needed to navigate challenging times. By building trust and fostering open dialogue, you create a network of connection and strength that sustains you through life's inevitable uncertainties. Lesson 5. Mastering emotional boundaries. Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed by someone else's emotions, absorbing their stress, anxiety, or negativity as if it were your own? If so, you're not alone. Many people struggle with emotional boundaries, the invisible lines that separate your emotions from those of others. Without these boundaries, it's easy to feel drained, lose your sense of self, and become entangled in problems that aren't yours to solve. Mastering emotional boundaries doesn't mean shutting people out or becoming indifferent. It means learning to protect your emotional well-being while still offering empathy and support. When you set healthy emotional boundaries, you create a balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. You can be compassionate without sacrificing your peace of mind. Why is this important? Without boundaries, you risk taking on emotional burdens that aren't yours. This can lead to emotional exhaustion, resentment, and even strained relationships. Buddhist philosophy reminds us that while we can care for others, we must remain in control of our own inner world. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This wisdom applies not only to external events, but also to the emotions of those around us. You can't control how others feel, but you can control how much you let their emotions affect you. The first step in mastering emotional boundaries is awareness. Start by noticing when you're taking on emotions that aren't yours. Ask yourself, am I feeling this way because of my own situation, or because I've absorbed someone else's emotions? Recognizing when you're crossing your emotional boundaries is key to regaining control. Next, practice assertive communication. Setting boundaries isn't about confrontation, it's about clarity. For example, if a friend frequently unloads their problems on you in a way that leaves you feeling drained, you might say, "I care about you and I want to support you, but I also need to take care of my own well-being. Let's talk, but can we keep it brief?" This approach shows empathy while clearly stating your limits. Another helpful strategy is to use visualization techniques. When you're in a situation where emotions are running high, imagine a protective barrier around yourself. Something that allows you to empathize without absorbing the emotional weight. This mental practice helps reinforce the idea that while you can care, you don't have to carry. Here's something practical you can do. The next time you feel overwhelmed by someone else's emotions, pause and take a deep breath. Mentally separate your feelings from theirs by saying to yourself, their emotions are theirs. I can care without carrying. Then focus on grounding yourself, whether through breathing exercises, journaling, or taking a brief walk. Ask yourself, am I sacrificing my emotional well-being to support others? If the answer is yes, remind yourself that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary. When you protect your emotional energy, you're in a better position to help others without burning out. It's also important to remember that boundaries may need reinforcement over time. Some people might not respect your boundaries right away, but that doesn't mean they aren't valid. Stay consistent. The more you practice setting and maintaining boundaries, the more others will learn to respect them, and the more you'll respect yourself. Remember, mastering emotional boundaries is an act of self-respect and self-care. It allows you to show up fully for the people you care about without losing yourself in the process. You can be kind, empathetic, and supportive while still protecting your own peace. When you set clear emotional boundaries, you free yourself from the weight of emotions that aren't yours to bear, allowing you to live with greater clarity, balance, and inner strength. Lesson 6. Weighing the outcomes of separation. There are moments in life when distancing yourself from certain people or situations becomes necessary for your well-being. But making that decision isn't easy. It comes with doubts, emotions, and concerns about the potential consequences. Weighing the outcomes of separation is a crucial step in ensuring that you're making the right choice, not out of impulse or frustration, but with clarity and purpose. Distancing yourself can take many forms. It might mean ending a toxic relationship, leaving a draining job, or stepping away from a long-term friendship that no longer aligns with your values. Whatever the case, it's essential to carefully evaluate how this separation will impact not only your life, but your future, but also the lives of those around you. The goal isn't to escape discomfort. It's to prioritize your growth, well-being, and peace of mind. Buddhist philosophy teaches us the importance of intentional decision-making. Before taking action, the Buddhists would reflect on whether a decision aligned with their values and long-term well-being. Wise monk advised, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This means that much of the fear around separation is rooted in imagined worst-case scenarios. By weighing the real outcomes instead of fearing hypothetical ones, you can make more grounded, thoughtful choices. Here's how to approach weighing the outcomes. 1. Evaluate the emotional impact. Ask yourself, how does staying in this situation make me feel on a daily basis? If the answer is consistently negative, stress, anxiety, or a sense of being stuck, that's a strong indicator that creating distance might be beneficial. 2. Consider your long-term well-being. Reflect on whether this situation or relationship is helping you grow or holding you back. Will staying here support your future goals and happiness, or will it continue to drain your energy? 3. Acknowledge potential losses. Every separation comes with some form of loss. It could be emotional, social, or even financial. Be honest with yourself about what you might lose, but also ask, is this loss worth the peace and clarity I'll gain? Sometimes short-term discomfort is necessary for long-term well-being. It's also important to remember that separation doesn't have to be absolute. In some cases, creating distance rather than completely cutting ties may be enough. For example, if a relationship is draining but not entirely toxic, you might choose to spend less time with that person or engage in fewer emotionally charged interactions. This allows you to protect your well-being without severing the relationship entirely. Here's something practical you can do. When faced with the decision to create distance, try a pros and cons reflection. Take a piece of paper and divide it into 2 columns. On one side, list the benefits of staying in the situation or relationship. On the other, list the benefits of creating distance. Seeing these factors laid out visually can help clarify your decision. Ask yourself, am I staying because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid of the consequences of leaving? If fear is the primary reason, it's worth reconsidering. Often, the fear of change is worse than the change itself. Once you take the step, you might find that what you feared wasn't as overwhelming as you imagined. Remember, weighing the outcomes of separation isn't about finding a perfect solution. It's about choosing the path that best supports your growth and well-being. No decision is without its challenges, but by taking the time to reflect and evaluate, you ensure that your choice is intentional and aligned with your values. Letting go is rarely easy, but it's often necessary. When you carefully weigh the outcomes and make a conscious decision to create distance, you open the door to a lighter, freer life. You make room for new opportunities, healthier relationships, and a version of yourself that thrives, unburdened by what no longer serves you. Lesson 7. Detoxing from social media. In an age where social media has become an integral part of daily life, it's easy to fall into the trap of constant scrolling, comparing, and consuming. While social media connects us to people and information, it also introduces a significant amount of digital noise, distractions, unrealistic comparisons, and even anxiety from endless updates. Detoxing from social media doesn't mean abandoning it altogether. It means creating space for clarity, focus, and genuine connection by limiting its grip on your life. The problem with excessive social media use is that it keeps your mind in a constant state of stimulation. Every notification, post, or like triggers a small dopamine hit, conditioning you to seek more. Over time, this can create a cycle of dependence where moments of silence or stillness feel uncomfortable. But true peace of mind comes not from external stimulation. It comes from learning to be present, reflective, and content with yourself. Buddhism emphasizes the value of focusing on what truly matters. Buddha wrote, "You must reclaim yourself for yourself. The world distracts you with many things. Focus on a few that matter and let the rest go." Social media can be a valuable tool, but without mindful use, it distracts you from what's meaningful, real relationships, inner peace, and personal growth. Detoxing from social media can take many forms. For some, it might mean taking a complete break for a few days or weeks. For others, it could be as simple as setting time limits on daily usage or unfollowing accounts that don't add value to their lives. The goal isn't to eliminate social media entirely. It's to regain control over how you engage with it. Here's how to start a social media detox. Detox. Identify your triggers. Notice when and why you turn to social media. Is it out of boredom, stress, or habit? Understanding your triggers helps you find healthier alternatives, like going for a walk, reading, or journaling that provide genuine relaxation or stimulation. 2. Set boundaries. Create specific times during the day when you'll check social media rather than constantly reaching for your phone. For example, you might decide to check it only after lunch or in the evening, limiting your exposure to digital noise. 3. Curate your feed. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate, anxious, or drained. Instead, follow those that inspire, uplift, or educate you. Your digital environment should reflect your values, not undermine them. Here's something practical you can do. Try a 24-hour social media detox. For one full day, avoid all social media platforms. Use that time to engage in offline activities, spend time with loved ones, work on a hobby, or simply enjoy the quiet moments. At the end of the day, reflect on how you feel. Did you miss anything important? Or did you feel more present, less stressed, and more focused? Ask yourself, am I using social media intentionally, or is it using me? If you find that it's consuming more of your time and energy than you'd like, commit to creating healthier boundaries. Remember, you don't have to give it up entirely. You just need to ensure that it serves you rather than controls you. Remember, detoxing from social media isn't about isolation. It's about reconnection. By reducing digital noise, you create space for deeper conversations, richer experiences, and greater peace of mind. You learn to be present in your own life, rather than constantly watching the highlight reels of others. When you take control of how you engage with social media, you reclaim your time, your focus, and your inner calm. You free yourself from the constant comparison and distraction, allowing room for what truly matters. Real connection, meaningful growth, and the quiet, powerful moments that shape who you are. Lesson 8. Prioritizing your core needs in the rush of everyday life. It's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. Between work obligations, social commitments, and endless distractions, your core needs, those things that nourish your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, often get pushed aside. But here's the truth. If you don't prioritize your core needs, no one else will. Learning to identify and prioritize what truly sustains you is essential for building a balanced and fulfilling life. Many people confuse wants with needs. While wants are temporary desires like entertainment, validation, or material possessions, your core needs are deeper. They're the things that keep you grounded, fulfilled, and energized. These could be things like meaningful relationships, time for self-reflection, creative expression, or even simple activities like getting enough sleep and spending time in nature. Buddhism teaches us to focus on what is essential and to let go of what is superfluous. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This wisdom reminds us that true fulfillment doesn't come from chasing more, but from nurturing the essentials that sustain our inner well-being. To prioritize your core needs, start by asking yourself, what are the things that genuinely make me feel alive and at peace? These are often the things that, when neglected, leave you feeling drained or disconnected. For example, if quality time with loved ones is a core need for you, constantly prioritizing work over relationships will eventually lead to feelings of isolation and dissatisfaction. Once you've identified your core needs, the next step is to make time for them intentionally. This might mean setting aside time each day for self-care, saying no to commitments that don't align with your values, or creating boundaries around your work and personal life. Remember, prioritizing your needs isn't selfish. It's necessary. When your needs are met, you're in a better position to show up fully for the people and responsibilities in your life. Here's a simple exercise. Make a list of your top 5 core needs. Next to each one, write down one small action you can take this week to prioritize that need. For example, if one of your core needs is rest, your action might be 30 minutes earlier each night. If another need is creativity, your action might be setting aside 1 hour to work on a personal project. The key is to start small and be consistent. Ask yourself, am I living in a way that honors my core needs, or am I constantly sacrificing them for external demands? If it's the latter, remind yourself that no achievement or external validation can replace the sense of wholeness that comes from meeting your true needs. Thanks. It's also important to let go of guilt when prioritizing your needs. Many people feel guilty when they take time for themselves, as if they're neglecting their responsibilities. But taking care of yourself isn't neglect. It's what allows you to fulfill your responsibilities without burning out. When you prioritize your well-being, you not only improve your own life, you also show up better for those around you. Remember, life isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. By prioritizing your core needs, you create a foundation of balance, strength, and inner peace. You stop chasing after things that don't fulfill you and start living in a way that nourishes your body, mind, and soul. When you make time for what truly matters, you don't just improve your quality of life. You become more present, more resilient, and more connected to your purpose. And that's when life becomes not just something you manage, but something you truly enjoy. Lesson 9. Embracing gratitude and the present moment in a world that constantly pushes us to want more success, more possessions, more recognition. It's easy to fall into the trap of focusing on what's missing, rather than what's already present. This endless pursuit often leads to feelings of dissatisfaction, anxiety, and restlessness. But there's a simple yet profound antidote to this: gratitude. When you learn to embrace gratitude and anchor yourself in the present moment, you shift your perspective from lack to abundance, from striving to being. Gratitude isn't about ignoring life's challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing the good that already exists, even amidst difficulty. It's about appreciating the small moments, a kind word from a friend, a peaceful morning, or the fact that you have another day to grow and experience life. When you focus on what you have rather than what you lack, you cultivate a mindset of abundance and peace. Buddhism places great emphasis on appreciating the present. Buddha wrote, "Do not dwell on the past or dream of the future, but concentrate the mind on the present moment." The Buddhists believe that true contentment comes not from what you achieve or acquire, but from fully experiencing the here and now. Gratitude is a way of grounding yourself in the present. It reminds you that, despite life's imperfections, there's always something to be thankful for. Practicing gratitude doesn't have to be complicated. One powerful method is to start or end your day by reflecting on 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand. Sometimes the simplest things bring the greatest sense of peace. Over time, this practice trains your mind to notice the good, even when life feels overwhelming. Beyond gratitude, embracing the present moment means letting go of past regrets and future worries. The past can't be changed, and the future is uncertain. What you have control over is the present. The choices you make, the actions you take, and the way you experience this very moment. When you let go of dwelling on what was or obsessing over what might be, you free yourself to fully live in the now. Here's something practical you can do. The next time you feel stressed or overwhelmed, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath, look around you, and find something, anything, you can appreciate in that moment. It could be the warmth of sunlight, the taste of your coffee, or even the strength you've shown in handling a difficult situation. This simple act of mindful gratitude helps ground you and brings a sense of calm to your mind. Ask yourself, am I focusing more on what's missing or what's already present? If you find that your mind often leans toward lack, make a conscious effort to shift toward gratitude. It's not about ignoring your goals or desires. It's about balancing them with appreciation for what you already have. Another way to stay present is by practicing mindfulness. Whether through meditation, deep breathing, or simply being fully engaged in what you're doing, mindfulness helps you slow down and savor life's moments. It's about noticing the details, how the air feels on your skin, the sound of the wind, the texture of the food you're eating. These small acts of presence bring richness and depth to everyday life. Remember, life isn't lived in the past or the future, it's lived in the present. By embracing gratitude and staying anchored in the moment, you free yourself from the constant chase for more and find peace in what is. You realize that while life may never be perfect, it can still be beautiful when you take the time to notice and appreciate it. In the end, gratitude and presence aren't just practices, they're mindsets. When you cultivate them, you create a life filled with more joy, less anxiety, and a deeper connection to what truly matters. So take a moment, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, what can I appreciate right now? You might be surprised by how much there is to be thankful for. Lesson 10. Cultivating flexibility and adaptability. Life is unpredictable. No matter how carefully you plan or how hard you try to control outcomes, unexpected changes will always arise. It's in these moments when things don't go according to plan that your ability to adapt determines whether you thrive. Cultivating flexibility isn't about giving up on your goals or lowering your standards. It's about learning to adjust your approach, stay calm in the face of uncertainty, and find growth in every challenge. Many people resist change because it feels uncomfortable. We like stability, predictability, and control. But rigidity in the face of change creates unnecessary suffering. When you refuse to adapt, you cling to what was instead of embracing what is. This resistance often leads to frustration, anxiety, and a sense of helplessness. On the other hand, when you cultivate flexibility, you learn to flow with life's changes, finding new paths forward, even when things don't go as planned. Buddhism offers timeless wisdom on this topic. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This idea highlights the importance of flexibility, not in avoiding change, but in mastering your response to it. When you accept that change is inevitable and learn to adapt with grace, you maintain your inner peace and clarity, no matter what life throws your way. Flexibility starts with shifting your mindset. Instead of seeing change as a threat, view it as an opportunity for growth. Every unexpected event, every setback holds a lesson if you're willing to look for it. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? How can I grow through this challenge? This shift in perspective helps you stay open to new possibilities rather than getting stuck in frustration over what didn't go according to plan. Another key to cultivating flexibility is developing emotional resilience. Conscious discipline. Calm life's changes often trigger strong emotions, fear, frustration, or disappointment. Instead of letting these emotions take over, practice pausing, acknowledging how you feel, and then choosing a response that aligns with your values. Emotional resilience doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means processing them in a healthy way while staying grounded and clear-headed. Here's something practical you can do. When faced with an unexpected change, practice the 3 A's. Accept, assess, adapt. 1. Accept that the change has happened. Resisting it won't undo it. 2. Assess the new situation. What are your options and what can you control? 3. Adapt by choosing the best course of action based on what's in your control. This simple framework helps you respond to change thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively out of fear or frustration. Ask yourself 3. Adapt by choosing the best course of action based on what's in your control. Am I clinging to something that no longer serves me, or am I willing to adapt and move forward? If you find yourself resisting change, remind yourself that flexibility doesn't mean giving up. It means finding a new way to keep going. Life is constantly evolving, and your ability to evolve with it is what leads to lasting success and peace of mind. Cultivating flexibility also means being open to new perspectives and ideas. Sometimes we get stuck because we insist on doing things a certain way or believing that only one path will lead to success. But when you're willing to listen, learn, and try new approaches, you open doors to opportunities you might never have considered. Remember, flexibility isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the ability to bend without breaking, to adjust without losing your sense of purpose. Just like trees that sway in the wind are less likely to snap during a storm, those who cultivate flexibility are better equipped to handle life's inevitable ups and downs. In the end, life is a series of changes. By cultivating flexibility and adaptability, you learn to navigate those changes with confidence and grace. You stop fighting against what you can't control and start focusing on what you can, your mindset, your actions, and your ability to keep moving forward. And in doing so, you create a life of resilience, growth, and lasting inner peace. Lesson 11. Fostering empathy and generosity in a fast-paced world where everyone seems to be focused on personal goals and individual success, it's easy to forget the profound impact of empathy and generosity. Yet these two qualities have the power to not only transform your relationships, but also bring greater meaning and fulfillment to your life. Fostering empathy and practicing generosity aren't signs of weakness. They're expressions of inner strength and self-respect. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It goes beyond simply acknowledging someone's experience. It involves truly listening without judgment and offering genuine support. When you foster empathy, you strengthen your connections with those around you. People feel seen, heard, and valued, which fosters trust and deeper relationships. Buddhism often emphasizes personal resilience, but it also highlights the importance of contributing to the well-being of others. Buddha wrote, "What benefits the whole benefits the individual." In other words, by acting in ways that uplift others, you also uplift yourself. Empathy isn't just about helping others. It's about creating a world where mutual respect and compassion flourish, which benefits everyone, including you. Generosity, on the other hand, isn't just about giving material things. It's about giving your time, attention, kindness, and wisdom. True generosity comes from a place of abundance, not obligation. When you give freely without expecting anything in return, you cultivate a mindset of abundance and reduce feelings of scarcity or lack. Here's something to reflect on. When was the last time I showed empathy or practiced generosity without expecting anything in return? These small acts, whether it's listening to a friend, helping a colleague, or simply offering a kind word to someone in need, create ripples that extend far beyond the moment. They uplift not only the person receiving, but also the one giving. But fostering empathy and generosity doesn't mean neglecting your own well-being. In fact, empathy begins with yourself. If you're constantly giving without taking care of your own needs, you'll eventually feel drained and resentful. That's why it's important to practice self-compassion. Being kind to yourself when you're struggling, forgiving yourself when you make mistakes, and treating yourself with the same empathy you offer others. Another powerful aspect of generosity is that it helps shift your focus outward. When you're caught up in your own worries, giving to others, whether it's through volunteering, mentoring, or simply being present, can help reduce anxiety and increase your sense of purpose. Generosity creates a cycle of positivity. The more you give, the more connected and fulfilled you feel. Here's something practical you can do. Each day, look for one opportunity to practice a small act of empathy or generosity. It could be as simple as listening to someone without interrupting, offering help when you see someone struggling, or even just sending a thoughtful message to someone you care about. These small acts, done consistently, build a habit of empathy and generosity that strengthens your character and enriches your relationships. Ask yourself, am I approaching my interactions with empathy, or am I focused solely on my own perspective? If you find yourself slipping into self-centered thinking, pause and try to see things from the other person's point of view. This simple shift can transform the way you relate to others and foster deeper, more meaningful connections. Remember, fostering empathy and practicing generosity isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up with kindness and understanding in everyday moments. When you make empathy and generosity a core part of your life, you don't just improve your relationships, you cultivate a sense of purpose, fulfillment, and inner peace. In the end, what truly matters isn't how much you accumulate, but how much you contribute. By fostering empathy and practicing generosity, you create a life of connection, meaning, and lasting impact. You don't just live for yourself, you become a source of light and strength for those around you. And in doing so, you discover a deeper sense of happiness and fulfillment. Lesson 12. Nourishing your mind and body. In a world that constantly demands your attention, energy, and effort, it's easy to neglect the most important foundation of a fulfilling life: your mind and body. We often push ourselves to the limit, prioritizing external achievements over internal well-being, only to find that without proper care, our energy fades, our focus diminishes, and our peace of mind slips away. Nourishing your mind and body isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for living a balanced, resilient, and meaningful life. When you take care of your body, you're not just enhancing your physical health, you're also supporting your mental clarity, emotional stability, and overall sense of well-being. Exercise, proper nutrition, and rest aren't just physical acts. They directly influence how you feel, think, and respond to life's challenges. Wise monk once said, "A sound mind and a sound body is a short but full description of a happy state in this world." The Buddhists believed that a disciplined approach to caring for your body was essential for cultivating a strong mind. Nourishing your mind goes beyond simply consuming information. It's about feeding your mind with thoughts, ideas, and practices that promote growth and peace. This means being intentional about what you read, watch, and listen to. It means engaging in practices like mindfulness, meditation, and reflection that help calm your mind and strengthen your ability to focus. Start by asking yourself, what habits do I currently have that nourish my mind and body, and what habits might be draining me? Identifying these patterns is the first step toward creating a lifestyle that supports your well-being. For example, staying up late scrolling through social media might seem harmless, but over time it can disrupt your sleep, drain your energy, and leave your mind cluttered. On the other hand, prioritizing rest, exercise, and quiet time for reflection can have a profound impact on your mood, productivity, and resilience. One of the simplest yet most powerful ways to nourish your body is through movement. This doesn't have to mean intense workouts at the gym. It could be a morning walk, stretching, or any form of physical activity that gets your blood flowing and your energy levels up. Regular movement not only improves your physical health, but also releases endorphins which boost your mood and reduce stress. Equally important is nutrition. The food you consume is the fuel your body and mind run on. Eating a balanced diet, rich in whole, unprocessed foods, provides your brain with the nutrients it needs to function at its best. It's not about being perfect with your diet. It's about making small, consistent choices that support your long-term health. When it comes to nourishing your mind, quiet time and reflection are key. In a world filled with constant noise and distractions, taking time each day to be still, whether through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting quietly, helps clear your mind and strengthens your ability to stay present. These moments of stillness allow you to process your thoughts, release tension, and reconnect with what truly matters. Here's something practical you can do. Each day, commit to one small act that nourishes your mind and one that nourishes your body. It could be as simple as reading a chapter of a book that inspires you, practicing deep breathing for 5 minutes, or preparing a healthy meal. Over time, these small acts compound, creating a lifestyle that supports your well-being. Ask yourself, am I treating my mind and body with the respect they deserve? If not, start today. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's what allows you to show up fully in life for both yourself and those you care about. In the end, your mind and body are your most valuable assets. When you nourish them consistently, you cultivate a life of strength, clarity, and inner peace. You equip yourself to handle life's challenges with resilience and grace. By making your well-being a priority, you don't just live, you thrive. And that's when life truly becomes rich, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about creating space for something better. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of what no longer serves you, whether it's people, situations, habits, or even outdated versions of yourself. When you let go of what holds you back, you gain clarity, peace, and the ability to move forward with intention. In this episode, we explored 12 powerful lessons on how to let go and create a life of greater balance and fulfillment. From unlocking the power of detachment to nourishing your mind and body, each lesson offers a practical way to reclaim your energy and refocus on what truly matters. Life is filled with constant change, but by learning to let go with grace and strength, you empower yourself to face those changes without fear. Why does this matter? Because clinging too tightly to people, expectations, or even past versions of ourselves only leads to frustration and suffering. But when you learn to let go, you discover a deeper sense of freedom and inner peace. You stop being a prisoner to what's beyond your control and start living with greater purpose and presence. Here's something to reflect on. What is one thing I'm ready to let go of today? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be a small thought, a minor frustration, or an unnecessary habit. Every small step toward letting go creates a ripple effect, helping you cultivate a life that feels lighter, freer, and more aligned with your values. Remember, letting go is a practice, not a one-time event. It takes courage, patience, and self-compassion. But with each quiet release, you make room for growth, connection, and a life of greater joy. As Buddha said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Did you know that some people in your life might be subtly draining your energy or causing you harm, even without you realizing it? In today's world, where toxic behaviors are often hidden behind charming facades, it's crucial to recognize the signs of truly harmful individuals. This video will explore 10 specific signs that you might be dealing with a truly evil person, and how Buddhist wisdom can help you protect your peace and navigate these toxic relationships. These are insights I've personally tested and integrated into my own life, and they've helped me build stronger boundaries and a more resilient mindset. Grab your journal, get comfortable, and let's dive into these transformative insights. Stick around as I'll share actionable steps and personal stories to help you spot and handle harmful people with wisdom and grace. Without further ado, let's get started and uncover the secrets to identifying truly toxic individuals and protecting your inner peace. Number 1, they take pleasure in others' failures. This behavior stems from envy and insecurity. People who take pleasure in others' failures see your success as a threat. They may think that if you rise, it somehow diminishes their own worth. It's almost as if they're keeping score, and your wins feel like points against them. Instead of celebrating your achievements, they silently root for your downfall. And sometimes they go a step further by actively sabotaging your efforts, whether it's spreading rumors, giving bad advice, or creating obstacles that make it harder for you to succeed. From a Buddhist perspective, this is a clear sign of a mind in turmoil. Buddha reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Their joy in your missteps reflects a lack of control over their own thoughts and emotions. Instead of focusing on their own growth, they fixate on bringing others down. It's important to remember that their negativity is not about you. It's a projection of their own dissatisfaction with life. Let me share an example. Imagine working on a group project, and you pour your heart into it. The moment you share the final results, someone in the group points out flaws, not to improve the work, but to diminish your contribution. They might laugh at mistakes, question your ideas, or even imply that you were just lucky if things went well. You may not see it immediately, but over time their pattern becomes clear. They're not offering constructive feedback. They're trying to chip away at your confidence. Transcription. So how do we respond? Buddhism offers us a path. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, we can focus on our inner fortitude. Wise monk said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In this case, their craving for superiority over others reveals their poverty of spirit. By refusing to engage in their negativity, you protect your peace and keep your energy directed toward your own goals. You might also notice these individuals lurking when life throws you a curveball. Perhaps you've faced a setback like losing a job or struggling in a relationship, and instead of offering support, they seem oddly content. They may even exaggerate your situation when talking to others, turning your challenges into gossip. Buddhism teaches us to view such people with compassion, not resentment. Epictetus reminds us, when someone behaves badly toward you, remember that he is acting in accordance with his own understanding. Their joy in your struggles is a reflection of their flawed perspective, not a measure of your worth. Picture yourself as a steady rock in the middle of a storm. Their negativity might swirl around you, but it doesn't have to move you. Negative energy often manifests in subtle but persistent ways. For instance, you might notice how this person thrives on gossip, turning every conversation into a critique of others. Or perhaps they're always playing the victim, recounting stories where they've been wronged without ever taking accountability. Being around them can feel like stepping into quicksand. The longer you stay, the harder it is to maintain your own positivity. In moments like these, Buddhist wisdom teaches us to set boundaries, both emotional and physical. Epictetus said, "Keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." This doesn't mean avoiding every difficult person, but it does mean being mindful of how much energy you invest in these interactions. If someone's negativity is weighing on you, it's okay to limit your exposure or even politely excuse yourself from their company. Sometimes this negativity isn't directed at you, but still affects the environment. Imagine a friend who constantly complains about their circumstances, how unfair life is, how others have it better, how nothing ever goes their way. While you may empathize with their struggles, the unrelenting stream of pessimism can feel like a heavy weight on your shoulders. Buddhism teaches us to approach such situations with compassion, but also with discernment. Buddha said, you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. Listen if you can, but don't absorb their energy as your own. What's important to remember is that people emitting negative energy are often struggling internally. Their negativity is a reflection of their own unresolved issues, fears, or dissatisfaction. While Buddhism doesn't encourage us to judge or condemn them, it does remind us to protect our own peace. Practicing gratitude, mindfulness, and focusing on our own inner virtues can act as a shield against their energy. Number 3, they are chronic liars. One thing about chronic liars is how convincing they can be. Imagine someone telling you a detailed story about a vacation they never took. They describe the beaches, the food, and even the people they met. It sounds so vivid that you'd never think to question it. Later, you find out it was all fabricated. The worst part, they didn't gain anything from the lie. It was purely to impress or manipulate. For someone rooted in Buddhist principles, this kind of dishonesty is unsettling because it runs counter to the virtue of truthfulness. Buddha wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. This is a reminder to value honesty, even when others don't. Chronic liars are often skilled at justifying their behavior. They might say things like, I didn't want to hurt anyone, or it's not a big deal. But over time, their lies can cause serious harm. Think about trusting someone with important information, only to realize later that they twisted your words to serve their agenda. For instance, you might confide in someone about a personal struggle, and they turn around and use it as gossip to gain sympathy or attention. Learn that betrayal stings deeply because it violates the trust you placed in them. Buddhism offers guidance in how to respond to such situations. Epictetus taught that while we cannot control others' actions, we can control our reactions. When dealing with chronic liars, it's important to protect your inner peace. Recognize their behavior for what it is, a sign of their own insecurity or lack of integrity, and don't allow it to derail your values. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Another aspect of chronic lying is how it can make you question your own instincts. You may start to wonder if you're overreacting or misjudging them. This self-doubt is exactly what liars rely on to maintain control. They thrive in the gray areas where facts are blurred and reality is hard to pin down. In their world, accountability is for everyone else. Buddhism teaches us that strength lies in self-awareness and accountability. Buddha said, if anyone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change. I seek the truth which never harmed anyone. The courage to admit mistakes is what separates the truly strong from those who merely pretend. Their illusion of perfection often extends to their personal life as well. On social media, for instance, they might present an idealized version of themselves. Flawless photos, luxurious lifestyles, and carefully curated moments of joy. While there's nothing wrong with sharing highlights, these individuals use it as a tool to maintain the illusion of perfection. Behind the scenes, however, their relationships might be fraught with tension, or their confidence might be deeply fragile. The Buddhist would remind us not to be deceived by appearances. Epictetus taught appearances are of 4 kinds. Things either are as they appear, or they neither are nor appear to be, or they are and do not appear to be, or they are not and yet appear to be. Learning to discern reality from the facade protects us from getting caught up in their performance. Their behavior often includes subtle ways of putting others down to elevate themselves. For instance, they might constantly critique others' work, choices, or lifestyles, always positioning themselves as the standard of excellence. Imagine sharing a personal accomplishment only to have them say, well, that's great, but I would have done it this way, as if their way is inherently superior. Over time, these interactions can make you feel like you're always falling short. Buddhism reminds us not to measure ourselves by others' standards. Buddha wrote, don't be overheard complaining, not even to yourself. Instead of internalizing their critiques, focus on your own growth and values. Another hallmark of someone pretending to be perfect is their need to control narratives. They're often the first to share their version of events, ensuring they come out looking blameless. For example, in a disagreement, they might quickly tell others their side of the story, framing themselves as the victim or hero before you've even had a chance to explain. This tactic ensures they maintain their perfect image, even at the cost of others. In such moments, Buddhist wisdom advises us to remain calm and and let the truth reveal itself over time. As wise monk said, time discovers truth. The more they try to manipulate perceptions, the more apparent their dishonesty becomes. Their unwillingness to show vulnerability as a sign of their weakness is another clear sign. Vulnerability requires courage. It means admitting you don't have all the answers or that you've made a mistake. For someone pretending to be perfect, this is unthinkable. They'll avoid difficult conversations, downplay their struggles, and refuse to ask for help, all to maintain their flawless image. But Buddhism celebrates vulnerability as a strength Epictetus taught. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. By admitting our limitations, we open ourselves to growth and connection, something those who pretend to be perfect often miss out on. Number 5. They hide their true selves. Some people are like shapeshifters, constantly changing their behavior depending on who they're with or what they want. On the surface, they might seem adaptable or charming, but underneath it all they're hiding who they really are. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Pay attention to how someone behaves over time, not just the persona they project. They also have a habit of mirroring others to gain acceptance. For example, they might adopt your interests, mimic your mannerisms, or agree with everything you say to appear likable. While it can feel flattering at first, it eventually feels unsettling because it lacks sincerity. Buddhism reminds us that true connection comes from being real, not from pretending to be someone else. Buddha advised, do not act as if you were going to live 10 dozens in years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Life is too short for superficial connections built on deception. Number 6, they manipulate without guilt. Manipulation is one of the most unsettling traits someone can possess. It's not just the act of persuading others to do something, it's the calculated way manipulators twist emotions, situations, and even perceptions to get what they want. What makes it so insidious is that manipulators often do this without a shred of remorse. They don't care who gets hurt, as long as their goals are achieved. For those of us striving to live authentically and ethically, encountering someone like this can feel disorienting and exhausting. Manipulators often rely on subtlety. Imagine someone who seems to always get their way. But when you look closer, you realize they've achieved this by making others feel guilty or responsible for their desires. For instance, they might say something like, "If you really cared about me, you'd do this," or "I guess I'll just figure it out on my own." It's not a direct demand, but it creates an emotional pressure that's hard to ignore. Buddhism offers a valuable perspective here. Epictetus reminds us, no man is free who is not master of himself. Recognizing this manipulation allows you to regain your sense of freedom and choose your actions deliberately rather than being driven by guilt. Another tactic manipulators use is playing the victim. They present themselves as helpless or wrong to evoke sympathy and get others to act on their behalf. For example, they might recount a one-sided story about a conflict, painting themselves as completely innocent while exaggerating the faults of others. This draws people in, making them feel obligated to take the manipulator's side. From a Buddhist standpoint, it's important to resist the urge to react emotionally to these stories. Buddha advised, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. They act as if they're the center of the universe, and everyone else is merely a supporting character in their story. You might notice this entitlement in how they approach relationships. For example, they expect you to drop everything for them. But when you need their help, they're suddenly too busy or unavailable. It's as if their needs always outweigh yours. If you don't comply, they might act offended or try to guilt you, as if you're the one being unreasonable. Buddhism reminds us that relationships should be built on mutual respect and fairness. Wise monk said, "We are waves of the same sea, leaves of the same tree, flowers of the same garden." True connection comes from recognizing equality, not exploiting others for personal gain. In a professional setting, entitlement can be even more glaring. Imagine working with someone who constantly demands credit for work they didn't do or expects special treatment just because of their title or connections. They might complain about not getting promotions or rewards while ignoring the effort others put in. This behavior creates tension and resentment because it undermines the shared effort that drives success. Buddhism teaches us to focus on our own contributions and not get caught up in comparisons. Buddha advised, don't aspire to be on the best dressed list. Aspire to be a person of virtue. Your worth is determined by your actions, not by the recognition others demand for themselves. Entitled people also tend to view rules and boundaries as obstacles rather than guidelines. For instance, they might cut in line, expect favors without reciprocation, or disregard policies that everyone else follows. To them, rules are for other people, not for someone as special as they believe themselves to be. This disregard for fairness can be infuriating, but Buddhism offers a way to handle it. Titus taught there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. While you can't control their sense of entitlement, you can choose how much power you let it have over your peace of mind. Their entitlement often comes with double standards. For example, they might demand forgiveness for their mistakes, but be unwilling to forgive others. Or they expect unwavering loyalty while offering none in return. This hypocrisy can leave you feeling frustrated and taken advantage of. Buddhism encourages us to rise above such behaviors by focusing on our own integrity. Buddha said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Don't let their double standards pull you into the same cycle of selfishness and blame. Another hallmark of entitled people is their tendency to overreact when they don't get what they want. For example, imagine they ask for a favor that you can't fulfill. Instead of understanding your situation, they might lash out, sulk, or make you feel as though you've wronged them. It's as if the mere idea of being told no is unbearable for them. Buddhist philosophy teaches us to maintain our composure in the face of such reactions. Wise monk said anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. Stay calm, set boundaries, and don't let their tantrums dictate your decisions. Entitled individuals also lack gratitude, which is perhaps the most telling sign of their mindset. Even when they receive help or benefits, they treat it as something they were owed, rather than a gesture of kindness. For instance, you might go out of your way to support them, and instead of thanking you, they barely acknowledge your effort, or even expect more from you. Buddhism places immense value on gratitude as a key to happiness. Buddha wrote, do not indulge in dreams of having what you do not have, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess. Practicing gratitude not only helps you appreciate life, but also shields you from the entitlement of others. Number 8. They help only when it benefits them. Some people only offer help when there's something in it for them. At first it can be hard to notice, but over time you start to see a pattern. They'll step in when there's a clear personal gain, but when you need support, they suddenly become too busy or unavailable. It's as if their acts of kindness are just transactions. They help because it enhances their image, benefits them directly, or puts them in a position of power. This kind of self-interest can feel like a betrayal, especially when you realize that your well-being is only valuable to them when it serves their own goals. For instance, you might lend a hand to someone in need, only to find that when you're the one going through a tough time, they're nowhere to be found. They might offer excuses or just ignore your requests for help. It becomes clear that their help was more about building a favor bank for themselves than about genuine kindness. Buddhism teaches us to act with integrity, regardless of whether there's a benefit to us. Buddha reminded us, let not your mind run on what you lack as much as on what you have. True help comes from a place of selflessness, not self-interest. This transactional approach to helping others can extend to more subtle ways of manipulating situations. They might offer advice that seems helpful, but it's always with the caveat that you owe them something in return. For example, they might help you with a small task at work, but later expect you to cover for them or do something in exchange. Buddhists value assistance that comes without strings attached. As Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Their help is an attempt to control the situation, but your power lies in choosing not to engage in that exchange. It's easy to get frustrated or even angry when you realize you're dealing with someone who only helps when it benefits them. But Buddhism encourages us to maintain our inner peace, no matter how selfish others might be. Instead of harboring resentment, focus on cultivating a generous spirit yourself without the need for anything in return. Wise monk wrote, no man can live happily who has regard to himself alone and transforms everything into a question of his own utility. Helping others is an opportunity to practice virtue, not a transaction to get something in return. Their behavior often creates a sense of imbalance in relationships. You may feel like you're constantly giving while they take, without ever offering anything that doesn't benefit them. For example, they might enjoy the perks of being your friend, but when it's time to offer support, they disappear. This imbalance can drain you emotionally, especially if you're someone who values mutual respect and reciprocity. In these situations, the Buddhist approach would be to focus on what you can control, your own actions and responses, while accepting that some people may never offer the same level of kindness. Over time, this kind of behavior can lead you to reevaluate your relationships. If you're always the one giving and they're only helping when there's something in it for them, it's important to recognize the dynamic and protect your energy. Buddhism teaches us to protect our peace and not allow others to dictate the terms of our relationships. As Buddha put it, when you have the opportunity to benefit another person, do so with sincerity and without expecting anything in return. True generosity comes from a place of inner strength, not out of a desire for reciprocity. Number 9, they have many enemies. People who have a trail of enemies in their wake often show us the consequences of their actions, even if they don't realize it. These individuals may present themselves as charming and friendly on the surface, but underneath, they leave a path of damaged relationships, unspoken resentments, and unresolved conflicts. They may go on about how others have wronged them, or how they had to cut people off due to misunderstandings. But the truth is, when you consistently have problems with so many different people, the common denominator is usually you. These individuals often live in a world of blame. They accuse others of betrayal, but they never stop to ask why things keep falling apart around them. A friend of mine had someone in their life who was always pointing fingers at others for not understanding or supporting them. But when you looked closely, it was their own actions that were at the root of most conflicts. This person's inability to accept responsibility for their own part in things was a constant source of tension. Buddhism teaches us to take full responsibility for our actions, no matter how difficult it may be. As Epictetus said, we are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens to us. The moment we shift the focus to our own behavior, we regain control and clarity. People who have many enemies also tend to speak poorly about those they've fallen out with. Instead of reflecting on the situation, they trash talk former friends, colleagues, or acquaintances. For example, you might hear someone constantly recounting how they've been wronged by every person they've ever worked with, or how no one ever understands them. This constant narrative of being the victim reflects a refusal to see things from other perspectives, and it often comes at the expense of their own growth. Buddhism reminds us to remain calm and composed in these situations. Buddha said the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Instead of engaging in their petty squabbles, take the higher road by practicing empathy and understanding, even if you don't agree with the person's behavior. One of the hardest things to do is to watch someone behave in a way that causes constant conflict, and then act surprised when they're isolated or surrounded by enemies. Their tendency to burn bridges can eventually lead to loneliness, and they may try to convince themselves that it's everyone else's fault. But in truth, their lack of self-reflection and their refusal to take responsibility for their actions are what perpetuate the cycle. In Buddhism, we are taught to focus on what is in our control, particularly our own actions. Wise monk wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." It's easy to get caught up in someone else's narrative, but it's important to stay grounded in your own truth and not get lost in the drama they create. These individuals often fail to learn from their mistakes. They repeat the same patterns, burning bridges, speaking ill of others, and distancing themselves from anyone who challenges their behavior. And because they don't learn from past conflicts, they're doomed to repeat them. A family member of mine went through cycles of friend groups, only to end up alone time and time again. Every time they'd start a new relationship, whether professional or personal, the cycle would repeat. They'd create tension, become defensive, and then cut ties, convinced that everyone else was to blame. Buddhism teaches us that growth comes from self-examination, not from avoiding uncomfortable truths. As Epictetus said, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. By confronting our own mistakes, we can break free from cycles of conflict and start building healthier, more constructive relationships. Number 10. They thrive on hate. There are some people who seem to live in a constant state of anger and resentment. It's as if hatred fuels them, and without it, they wouldn't know who they are. These individuals often thrive in environments where negativity is rampant. They focus on flaws, criticize others endlessly, and can't seem to find anything good to say about anyone. Their minds are consumed by the faults and wrongs of others, and they take pride in pointing out imperfections wherever they see them. Think of the last time you walked into a room and felt like everyone noticed. It's not about the clothes you wore or the way you entered. It's about the undeniable presence you carried. That's the essence of a strong, intimidating personality. Today we're diving deep into what it truly means to hold such a presence. Inspired by the Buddhist philosophy, which teaches the art of remaining unaffected by external chaos and focusing solely on inner virtue, we will explore how these principles shape not just your outer image but your core self. Buddhism isn't just an ancient idea. It's a practical toolkit for anyone who stands firm in their values and faces life with unshakable resolve. So whether you're looking to understand your own strength or simply curious about the quiet power of Buddhism, stay tuned as we uncover the traits that make a personality truly formidable. If you appreciate delving into the depths of personality and the timeless wisdom of Buddhism, a simple favor I'll ask from you is to hit the subscribe button. Also, stick with us throughout. Every part of this video is crafted to enhance your understanding and appreciation of these powerful traits. Sign 1. Emotional independence. The first sign is about finding strength within yourself, a theme central to Buddhist philosophy. The Buddhists believe that true freedom comes from within, not from external validations or opinions. This kind of independence means that you don't need others to tell you you're doing well or that you're on the right path. Instead, you derive your sense of self-worth from your own judgments and convictions. When you embody emotional independence, you navigate life with a unique kind of confidence. It's the kind that doesn't scream for attention, but rather exudes a quiet, formidable presence. For instance, when faced with criticism or praise, an emotionally independent person remains stable and unaffected. Their self-value isn't tied to the fluctuating opinions of others. It's rooted in a deep understanding of their own virtues and values. This stability can be both inspiring and intimidating to others. It's inspiring because it represents a level of self-assurance and maturity many aspire to. Yet it can be intimidating because it challenges the normative social fabric, where external approval is often sought to reinforce personal identity. This trait also involves making decisions based on personal conviction, rather than societal expectations. When you live this way, your choices reflect a direct line to your core beliefs, undiluted by the noise of the crowd. It's about having the courage to follow your own path, even when it diverges sharply from what others might expect or accept. In the context of Buddhism, this aligns closely with the practice of focusing only on what you can control, your own thoughts and actions, and letting go of the rest. By fostering emotional independence, you not only protect your inner peace, but also cultivate a life that's true to your deepest self. This isn't about isolation or indifference towards others. Rather, it's about ensuring that your interactions are genuine and not merely transactions for emotional validation. Such a way of living doesn't just change how you feel about yourself. It transforms how you engage with the world around you, making your presence naturally strong and, yes, engaging, sometimes even a bit intimidating. Sign 2. Extensive knowledge. This is not just about accumulating facts. It's about cultivating a deep, broad understanding that influences your perspective and actions, a principle heavily embraced in Buddhism. The Buddhists, like Buddha or wise monk, weren't just philosophers. They were also students of life, dedicating themselves to learning not only about the world, but also about the inner workings of the human mind and spirit. When you develop an extensive knowledge base, you're not just learning, you're equipping yourself with tools to navigate life more effectively. This kind of knowledge makes you formidable. It's not merely about being able to recite facts or win trivia games. It's about understanding the underlying principles that govern various aspects of life. Whether it's science, art, literature, or human behavior, having a well-rounded grasp allows you to make connections that others might miss. This holistic view is intimidating because it enables you to challenge superficial conclusions and engage in meaningful debates that can shift perspectives. Moreover, extensive knowledge fosters a unique form of self-reliance. Buddhism teaches the value of self-sufficiency, not just in terms of physical needs, but intellectual and emotional ones as well. When you know a lot, you rely less on others to form opinions and more on your own critical thinking skills. This intellectual independence is a significant aspect of your intimidating personality. It's about having the confidence to trust your own judgments and the courage to question popular opinions. In conversations, this trait can make you a leader, often the go-to person for insights and answers. It's not just that people might feel less around you. Rather, they're drawn to the depth of understanding you bring. This can place you in positions of authority and influence, which, while beneficial, also sets a high standard for you to maintain. Being known for your knowledge means you're often expected to contribute at a high level, which can be a powerful yet daunting expectation to live up to. Extensive knowledge isn't just about what you know. It's about how you apply what you know to lead a more reasoned, balanced, and fulfilling life. It's about the wisdom to navigate complexity with ease and the ability to remain calm and effective in the face of challenges, hallmarks of both an intimidating personality and a devoted Buddhist. Sign 3. Rational decision-making. Buddhism teaches us the importance of responding to life's challenges with reason rather than emotion. This means evaluating situations based on facts, logic, and practicality, instead of getting swayed by fleeting emotions or peer pressure. Such a clear-headed approach is not just a sign of intellectual maturity, it also makes you appear formidable in the eyes of others who might be less consistent in their reasoning. When you make decisions rationally, you're drawing on a deep internal well of knowledge and critical thinking. It's about seeing beyond the surface emotions of the moment and understanding the long-term consequences of your actions. This doesn't mean that emotions don't play a role in your decisions. Rather, it's about not letting them lead the decision-making process. By prioritizing rationality, you ensure that your choices are aligned with your core values and life goals, principles deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy. This approach can be particularly intimidating because it demonstrates a level of self-control and foresight that is rare. People tend to be influenced by the heat of the moment or the weight of external opinions. In contrast, someone who remains unaffected by these pressures and chooses the most logical path forward, even when it's the tougher choice, exudes a sense of independence and strength that can be both awe-inspiring and intimidating. Furthermore, rational decision-making means that you are likely to be direct and straightforward in your interactions. There's a certain confidence that comes with knowing your decisions are well thought out and based on solid reasoning. This can make interactions with others more straightforward, as you're less likely to waver or seem indecisive. However, this directness, a product of your rationality, can also make others uncomfortable, especially if they are not used to such clear-cut communication. Embracing this trait means you embody the Buddhist ideal of living according to reason, not impulse. It allows you to navigate life with a calm assurance that your path is the right one, not just for the moment, but aligned with a broader, more considered view of life. This can make you a leader, a confidant, and a leader. And yes, sometimes an intimidating presence to those still struggling with the tumult of unchecked emotions. Sign 4. Decisiveness. Decisiveness is not just a trait. It's a statement of confidence, a declaration that you trust your own judgment enough to make choices swiftly and effectively. In Buddhism, decisiveness is rooted in the practice of exercising clear and rational judgment, removing the clutter of unnecessary thought that can cloud decision-making. It's about being present in the moment, fully aware and unswayed by external distractions, a powerful and sometimes intimidating display of inner strength. When you're decisive, you're effectively saying that you have weighed the options, considered the potential outcomes, and are ready to move forward with conviction. This can make a significant impact on those around you. It shows that you are not only capable of making choices, but also willing to stand by them. In a world where many may hesitate, caught up in indecision, your ability to act swiftly sets you apart. This decisiveness is intimidating because it implies a level of self-assuredness and competence that others might feel they lack. Moreover, Buddhism teaches that we should not be perturbed by things outside our control, focusing instead on our reactions and decisions. By embodying this principle, your decisiveness becomes a testament to your commitment to control your own life. It demonstrates a philosophical detachment from the chaos of life's unpredictabilities, focusing instead on actionable steps that you can influence. This approach also influences how you handle responsibilities and challenges. Decisive individuals are often seen as leaders because they don't shy away from the responsibility of making tough calls. Your clarity in decision-making ensures that your actions are deliberate and your path forward is unambiguous. This not only enhances your own life, but also provides a guiding light for others who are searching for direction. but find it hard to break through the fog of uncertainty. Being decisive, then, is not merely about making decisions quickly. It's about embodying the Buddhist ideal of informed and rational action, which commands respect and at times can be quite intimidating. This is because your decisiveness challenges others to examine their own hesitations and encourages them to cultivate their inner fortitude. Sign 5. Strong moral codes. In Buddhism, the adherence to strong moral principles is essential as it guides one to live a life of virtue and integrity. The Buddhists believe that virtue is the only true good and everything we do should be aimed at living a virtuous life, which inherently requires a strong moral foundation. When you possess strong moral codes, you navigate life with a compass that is constantly aligned towards what is right and just. This conviction can be quite intimidating to others, especially in a society where moral relativism often prevails. Your unwavering stance on issues of right and wrong sets a standard that can challenge others to reflect on their own moral beliefs and behaviors. It's not just about being good. It's about being consistently good, regardless of the circumstances or the potential benefits of compromising your values. This trait also fosters a sense of reliability and trustworthiness. People know where you stand, and they can trust that your actions are guided by your deep-seated principles, rather than whims or external pressures. In discussions and debates, your strong moral perspective provides a clear, often unshakable viewpoint that contributes to your reputation as someone who is formidable and commanding respect. Moreover, embodying strong moral codes means that you are often the voice of reason and the advocate for justice in situations where others might choose silence or complacency. This proactive stance not only reinforces your own sense of self, but also acts as a catalyst for change and ethical leadership. It can be intimidating because it calls on others to rise to your level of moral integrity, which is a challenge not everyone is ready to accept. Having strong moral codes as guided by Buddhist philosophy is about more than just making the right choices. It's about leading a life that is a testament to the enduring values of honesty, justice, courage, and wisdom. Your life becomes a beacon of what it means to live rightly, not as judged by societal standards, but by the timeless standards of virtue that define the very core of Buddhism. This not only makes you intimidating, but profoundly influential in the lives of those around you. Sign 6. Your words have weight. When your words have weight, each phrase and sentence you utter carries an impact that resonates beyond the immediate conversation. This is a trait deeply admired in the Buddhist tradition, where the wise are measured not by the quantity of their words, but by the quality and truth they convey. Buddhism teaches us that it's not just what we say, but how we say it that matters. Our words should reflect our inner virtue and reasoned judgment. Possessing this trait means that you speak with authority and conviction. People listen not necessarily because they are required to, but because they find genuine value and incentives what you say. This influence is powerful. It shapes perspectives, influences decisions, and can even alter the course of events. This weight comes from a combination of your knowledge, emotional intelligence, and the moral grounding you consistently display. It's about being seen as someone who speaks with purpose and profound understanding, making your voice not just heard, but respected and considered. Furthermore, when your words carry weight, you are often seen as a leader, someone capable of guiding others through your articulation and thoughtful expression. This can be intimidating to others because it sets a high benchmark. It implies that you are not merely participating in discussions, you are setting the tone and direction of those discussions. It's a manifestation of the Buddhist idea that the wise lead not by imposing power, but through the inherent force of their ethical and rational clarity. This trait also demands a high level of responsibility. Knowing that your words influence, you choose them carefully, aware of their potential to affect others' thoughts and feelings. In Buddhism, this is akin to the practice of self-control and discretion, emphasizing that it is better to speak less than, and with more meaningful content than to speak often with little substance. Therefore, having your words carry weight is not merely about the impact you make in conversations, but about embodying the Buddhist virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. Every time you speak, your voice therefore becomes a tool, not just for communication, but for teaching, leading, and inspiring others towards greater understanding and virtue. This powerful trait underscores your role as a modern Buddhist, one who not only navigates life with reason and ethics, but also enriches the lives of others with words that matter. Sign 7. Comfort in solitude. This isn't just about enjoying your own company. It's about embracing the quiet and using it as a tool for growth and reflection. This aligns closely with Buddhist principles, which emphasize the importance of self-awareness and personal development that often occurs in moments of solitude. The Buddhists saw solitude not as loneliness, but as an opportunity to deepen one's understanding of self and the world, free from the distractions and influences of the external environment. When you are comfortable being alone, it reflects a strong sense of self-sufficiency and confidence. It indicates that you do not rely on the presence or approval of others to validate your feelings or actions. This trait can be quite intimidating to others because it challenges the common fear of being alone, suggesting a level of emotional and psychological maturity that many might still be striving to achieve. It shows that you are complete in yourself, grounded in your values, and not swayed by the fleeting opinions and emotions that often influence social interactions. Moreover, solitude fosters creativity and problem solving. When you are alone, you are with your thoughts, allowing you to engage deeply with them without interruption. This can lead to clearer thinking and better decision making. For a Buddhist, this process is crucial. It's about using reason to lead one's life effectively. The ability to sit with oneself and reflect is seen not just as a skill, but as an essential practice that strengthens one's character and fortitude. This comfort in solitude also means that when you do interact with others, your interactions are likely to be more meaningful and intentional. You engage because you choose to, not because you need to, which enhances the quality of your relationships. Your presence in any social setting is thus more potent and impactful. You bring insights gained from your reflections, adding depth and weight to conversations. Being comfortable in solitude is a testament to your complete and composed nature. It's about having the courage to face yourself, the wisdom to learn from what you find, and the confidence to return to society without losing your centeredness. This is a profound aspect of Buddhism, the peace found within oneself that radiates outward, influencing others in subtle yet powerful ways. Sign 8. Ability to handle difficult conversations. Buddhists practice the art of responding rather than reacting, allowing them to engage in challenging discussions with grace and wisdom. Handling difficult conversations well means you're equipped to navigate the complexities of human emotions and conflicts without losing your cool. This capability can be somewhat intimidating to others, as it demands a level of emotional intelligence and self-control that many are still developing. It shows that you are not only a thinker, but also a mediator and a leader, someone who can face tension without succumbing to it. In Buddhism, the focus is often on the internal control of one's responses. When you engage in difficult conversations, you are essentially practicing this Buddhist ideal. You are examining not just what is being said, but how you can contribute to the resolution or understanding of the issue. This often involves setting aside personal feelings to address the larger needs of the moment, which is a hallmark of Buddhist detachment and virtue. Moreover, your ability to handle these conversations shows that you value truth and progress over comfort and avoidance. It's about confronting the reality of a situation, however uncomfortable it may be, to foster greater understanding or find solutions. This is not just about courage. It's about commitment to the truth, to improvement, to relationships. This commitment can challenge others to rise to the occasion, which, while productive, can also be daunting. The Buddhist approach to difficult conversations also involves a readiness to forgive and look beyond one's own perspective. It's about recognizing that every person has their reasoning, and that understanding this is key to resolution and growth. Your capacity to engage in these challenging dialogues without judgment, but with an aim for clarity and resolution, reflects a deep-rooted wisdom and a desire for harmony, even when the process to achieve it can be rigorous and demanding. Ultimately, your ability to manage tough conversations with a calm and collected demeanor not only makes you a pivotal figure in social and professional settings, but also demonstrates a life lived true to Buddhist principles. It shows that you are not just participating in exchanges, but are guiding them towards meaningful outcomes, making your interactions profound and impactful. Sign 9. Dominance in group settings. This trait, deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy, reflects a form of leadership that comes from inner confidence and the ability to influence others through calm assertiveness and reasoned argument. In Buddhism, the emphasis is on leading by example and making decisions that reflect wisdom and virtue. When you dominate in group settings, it's not about exerting power over others, but about guiding discussions in a direction that leads to the best outcomes for all involved. This sort of influence can be intimidating to some because it sets a high standard of integrity and accountability. It shows that you are not merely participating, but are actively shaping the flow of interactions, making your input crucial to the outcome. Your dominance in a group is characterized by your ability to listen actively, respond thoughtfully, and steer conversations away from chaos and towards coherence and constructive ends. This doesn't mean you're always talking. Rather, your contributions are so substantial that they shift perspectives, deepen understanding, and guide the collective effort. This ability to bring clarity and direction to group dynamics is a hallmark of Buddhist leadership, which values harmony and the common good over personal gain. Moreover, your presence in a group setting often brings a sense of calm and order. People look to you not just for answers, but for reassurance that the discussion will yield fruitful results. This trust is based on past experiences of your rational and equitable approach to handling group dynamics, where you've demonstrated fairness and strategic thinking. Your dominance in group settings embodies the Buddhist virtues of courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance. It's about being so firmly rooted in these virtues that your mere presence encourages others to elevate their own discourse and behavior. Your leadership style, therefore, is not only about directing others, but about inspiring them to adopt these Buddhist principles in their own lives, making your role both influential and transformative in every group you are part of. They hate you, they distrust you, they will stab you in your back. Have you ever noticed that the nicest people often get treated the worst? That's because kindness without boundaries looks like weakness. Say yes too often, and people start expecting it. Give too much, and they stop valuing it. The world doesn't respect those who are always available. It respects those who know their worth. All Buddhists understood this truth. Respect isn't given, it's commanded. And in this video we dive deep into the psychology of kindness, why excessive generosity leads to disrespect, and how Buddhist wisdom can help you balance kindness with strength. Watch till the end to learn how to command respect without losing your good heart. Let's get into it. Number 1, the psychology of overgiving. People look up to those who have earned their respect. In the event that you give excessively without anticipating receiving anything in return, you are conveying an unconscious message that your time and work are not valuable. It was originally written by Buddha in his book, Meditations, that a man's worth is no greater than his ambitions in terms of our interactions with other people. This is a statement that is not just straightforward, but also immensely significant. If you do not have any goals or limits in place regarding your time and energy, how can you possibly expect other people to recognize the worth that you possess? Within this context, generosity has the potential to rapidly morph into an expectation, and once compassion is anticipated, respect begins to wane. The issue with excessive generosity is not simply that individuals lose the ability to appreciate it. Rather, it is that they begin to take it for granted. By doing so, consider the possibility that you are the person who is always willing to assist, give an ear, or go out of your way to make the life of another person simpler. First, people show their appreciation by expressing gratitude and thanking you. They may even express thankfulness. On the other hand, as time passes, they begin to believe that you will always be present. The efforts that you put out are no longer seen as a favor by them. Rather, they are seen as something that you merely carry out because they are merely anticipating that you would express gratitude to them. They do not feel the need to do so as regularly. The difficulty is that what was previously considered to be a given is no longer respected. This is where the problem begins. Buddha, a Buddhist philosopher, would remind us that self-respect is the root of all respect that is shown to others. When you fail to establish boundaries and do not place value on your own time and energy, it is inevitable that others will do the same. Your time and effort will be taken for granted, and they will take more than they should, leaving you feeling exhausted and unappreciated. They will assume that your time and effort are inexpensive according to what he previously wrote. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you are feeling unappreciated or overworked, and your thoughts are filled with resentment because of it, it is not the fault of the people around you. Rather, it is the result of your own failure to set boundaries. The truth is that people test the limits of what they are capable of taking without ever realizing it. They are going to continue to take from you if you never say no, and if you constantly give an addition. Every time you do not decline an offer, You are reinforcing the notion that your time, energy, and kindness are boundless supplies. If you want to say no, but are afraid of being rejected or failing other people, you could experience feelings of guilt. On the other hand, if you consistently contribute without taking into account your own requirements, it conveys the message that you do not respect yourself sufficiently to set strict boundaries for yourself. Because of this, boundaries are quite important. Everyone else will not value your time if you do not value it yourself. You are able to encourage others to do the same. By establishing distinct limits and showing respect for your own requirements, it may be unsettling at first, particularly if you are accustomed to giving more than you are expected to. But it is an essential step in making sure that your generosity is acknowledged and appreciated. You do not have to agree to every request that is made of you. Even more crucial, you shouldn't feel guilty about declining an offer when you say no to it. The Buddhist philosophy tells us that virtue is not derived from continuously trying to please other people, but rather from living in accordance with reason. Buddha had a deep comprehension of this, as opposed to wasting time trying to get the approval of other people. He concentrated on upholding his own dignity and behaving in a manner that was congruent with his principles according to what he wrote. Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others unless it is for some mutual benefit. Adjust your expectations. Often our impatience stems from things not going according to our plan. Remind yourself that you're not in control of everything, only your response to things. By setting more realistic expectations, you can find peace in the unfolding of life, however it happens. Every moment of impatience is a chance to practice, to deepen your understanding of Buddhism and to cultivate a serene mind. View each test of patience as an opportunity, not a hurdle. Like a muscle that gets stronger with exercise, your capacity for patience grows every time you choose it over frustration, and the rewards are immense. A calmer mind, less stress, and a reputation as someone who is composed and thoughtful, even in challenging situations. So, next time you find yourself in a situation that tests your patience, remember the wisdom of Buddha. The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes, the obstacle to our acting. Let every challenge be a chance to practice and grow, cultivating patience as a powerful Buddhist habit for solving problems with people. 5. Embody your philosophy. Have you ever felt that your words and actions don't quite align, leading to stress and inconsistency in your relationships? Imagine the power of living a life where your principles are not just spoken, but clearly demonstrated in everything you do. This is what the Buddhist philosopher Buddha meant when he encouraged his students to embody their philosophy. It's not about lecturing others on what they should do, but about showing through your own actions the virtues you hold dear. Buddha said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. This advice is profoundly relevant when dealing with people who and solving interpersonal problems. When you consistently live out your values, you become a beacon of reliability and integrity. Your actions become a testament to your character, setting a powerful example for others. This leads to greater trust and respect in your relationships and ultimately to more harmonious interactions. Think about it. How often do we see people who say one thing but do another? It's frustrating and creates a sense of distrust. Now imagine being the person who always acts in accordance with their values. No matter the situation, your consistency not only earns you respect, but also inspires others to reflect on their own actions and values. By embodying your philosophy, you become a living example of the change you wish to see in the world. How do you start embodying your philosophy, especially in a world filled with temptations and distractions? It begins with self-reflection. Take a moment to consider the values that are truly important to you. What principles do you want to guide your life? Once you have clarity on these, strive to align your actions with your values. This alignment isn't about being perfect. It's about making a genuine effort to live according to your ideals, even when it's hard. And when you do slip up, it's about owning your mistakes, learning from them, and moving forward with even greater resolve. Another key aspect of embodying your philosophy is consistency. It's not just about doing the right thing when it's easy or when it's hard. When people are watching, it's about being consistent in your values, whether you're in the spotlight or alone. This consistency builds trust and respect, making your interactions more meaningful and effective. Imagine the ripple effect you can create by simply living out your principles. When you show kindness, even in challenging situations, others take notice. It might inspire them to act kindly in turn. When you demonstrate integrity, refusing to compromise on your values, it sets a standard for those around you. Your actions can encourage others to reflect on their own behavior and strive for improvement. By embodying your philosophy, you don't just solve problems with people. You inspire them. You lead by example, fostering an environment of mutual respect and understanding. So ask yourself, are you ready to live your philosophy every day? The journey might be challenging, but the impact you can make is immeasurable. 6. Maintain your inner peace. Have you ever felt like the negativity of others was dragging you down? Do you struggle to maintain your calm in the face of criticism or harsh comments? If so, you're not alone. Dealing with difficult people can be one of the most challenging aspects of life. But what if I told you that you have the power to protect your inner peace, no matter what others say or do? Buddha, a renowned Buddhist philosopher, often wrote about maintaining one's inner peace amidst external turmoil. He spoke of the inner citadel, a fortress within us that no external negativity can breach, unless we allow it. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This concept is incredibly empowering. Imagine having a sanctuary within yourself that remains untouched by the storms of criticism, judgment, or negativity from others. So how do we build and maintain this inner citadel? It begins with recognizing what is and isn't within our control. We can't control other people's actions, the harsh comments they make, or the unkind rumors they spread. But we can control our response. We can choose not to engage with their negativity, not to internalize their harsh words, and not to let it disturb our peace. The first step is to pause and reflect. When faced with negativity, take a moment to breathe and remind yourself that this moment is just that. A moment, it will pass. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Often you'll find that the answer is no. This simple act of pausing can prevent a reactive spiral and give you space to choose a more reasoned response. Another powerful strategy is to reflect on the intention behind the negativity. Often those who lash out are struggling with their own issues, insecurities, or pain. Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it can help us respond with compassion rather than defensiveness or anger. As Buddha reminds us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Practicing mindfulness can also help maintain your inner citadel. Engage with uplifting content, connect with supportive people, and fill your environment with things that bring you joy and peace. By staying present and grounded, you can keep your inner peace intact, even in the face of external negativity. Remember, maintaining your inner peace is not about building walls or becoming indifferent. It's about choosing where to focus your energy and attention. It's about preserving your inner strength so you can face challenges with confidence, grace, and resilience. By cultivating these Buddhist habits, you can transform how you deal with people and protect your precious inner peace. 7. Approach life with love and compassion. Have you ever wondered how love and compassion can play a role in solving problems with people? In the often tumultuous landscape of human interactions, it's easy to react with frustration or anger. But what if we approach these challenges with love and compassion instead? Wise monk, one of the great Buddhist philosophers, wisely said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." This profound insight offers us a powerful tool for navigating conflicts and fostering better relationships. Imagine transforming every interaction, even with difficult people, into an opportunity to show goodwill and understanding. How different would your life be if you could diffuse tension and build stronger connections simply by changing your perspective? Love and compassion are not just passive feelings. They are active, vibrant energies that you put out into the world. When faced with negativity, responding with empathy rather than defensiveness can have a transformative effect on both you and the other person involved. Think about the last time someone lashed out at you. Were they perhaps struggling with their own issues, insecurities, or pain? Recognizing that everyone is fighting their own battles helps us to respond with kindness rather than anger. This doesn't mean we condone bad behavior, but it allows us to see their negativity as their burden, not ours. By choosing compassion, we lighten both our load and theirs, fostering a more harmonious interaction. Moreover, love and compassion extend beyond our immediate relationships to encompass a broader view of life itself. Embracing life with open arms, appreciating its beauty, and engaging with the world positively can profoundly impact our well-being. It means practicing gratitude daily, showing appreciation to those around us, and reflecting on our actions and intentions to ensure they are rooted in love and kindness. How can we cultivate this loving Buddhist approach to life? Start small. Offer a kind word to a stranger. www.muji.org. Show appreciation to your loved ones and practice gratitude. Reflect on moments when you might have responded with irritation and think about how you could have approached it with more empathy. By making conscious choices rooted in love and compassion, you can transform your interactions and relationships. Remember, as wise monk said, every human interaction is an opportunity for kindness. By embracing this Buddhist habit, you can solve problems with people more effectively and create a more peaceful, fulfilling life. So, the next time you face a challenging person or situation, ask yourself, how can I respond with love and compassion? The answer might just change your life. 8. Communicate clearly and calmly. Have you ever found yourself in a heated argument where words are flying, but nothing productive is being said? How often do we walk away from conflicts feeling misunderstood or unheard? Clear and calm communication is crucial for resolving problems with people, and the Buddhists have profound wisdom to offer on this front. The Buddhists valued rational and effective dialogue as a means to maintain harmony and understanding. Buddha wisely noted, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. This principle is vital when communicating, especially in conflict situations, by ensuring our words are true and our actions right. We set a foundation for trust and respect in our interactions. Imagine approaching every conversation, even difficult ones, with a sense of calm and clarity. Instead of reacting impulsively, take a moment to pause, breathe, and listen, and collect your thoughts. This simple act can prevent misunderstandings and help you articulate your points more effectively. It's about controlling your emotions and not letting them dictate your words. When we speak from a place of calm, our message is clearer, and we are more likely to be understood. Active listening is another key component of clear communication. Often in the heat of a disagreement, we focus on what we want to say next, rather than truly hearing the other person. The Buddhists teach us to listen more and speak less. By truly listening, we can understand the other person's perspective, which is crucial for resolving conflicts. Did you know that some people in your life might be subtly draining your energy or causing you harm, even without you realizing it? In today's world, where toxic behaviors are often hidden behind charming facades, it's crucial to recognize the signs of truly harmful individuals. This video will explore 10 specific signs that you might be dealing with a truly evil person, and how Buddhist wisdom can help you protect your peace and navigate these toxic relationships. These are insights I've personally tested and integrated into my own life, and they've helped me build stronger boundaries and a more resilient mindset. Grab your journal, get comfortable, and let's dive into these transformative insights. Stick around as I'll share actionable steps and personal stories to help you spot and handle harmful people with wisdom and grace. Without further ado, let's get started and uncover the secrets to identifying truly toxic individuals and protecting your inner peace. Number 1, they take pleasure in others' failures. This behavior stems from envy and insecurity. People who take pleasure in others' failures see your success as a threat. They may think that if you rise, it somehow diminishes their own worth. It's almost as if they're keeping score, and your wins feel like points against them. Instead of celebrating your achievements, they silently root for your downfall. And sometimes they go a step further by actively sabotaging your efforts, whether it's spreading rumors, giving bad advice, or creating obstacles that make it harder for you to succeed. From a Buddhist perspective, this is a clear sign of a mind in turmoil. Buddha reminds us you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Their joy in your missteps reflects a lack of control over their own thoughts and emotions. Instead of focusing on their own growth, they fixate on bringing others down. It's important to remember that their negativity is not about you. It's a projection of their own dissatisfaction with life. Let me share an example. Imagine working on a group project, and you pour your heart into it. The moment you share the final results, someone in the group points out flaws, not to improve the work, but to diminish your contribution. They might laugh at mistakes, question your ideas, or even imply that you were just lucky if things went well. You may not see it immediately, but over time their pattern becomes clear. They're not offering constructive feedback. They're trying to chip away at your confidence. Transcription. So, how do we respond? Buddhism offers us a path. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, we can focus on our inner fortitude. Wise monk said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In this case, their craving for superiority over others reveals their poverty of spirit. By refusing to engage in their negativity, you protect your peace and keep your energy directed toward your own goals. You might also notice these individuals lurking when life throws you a curveball. Perhaps you've faced a setback like losing a job or struggling in a relationship, and instead of offering support, they seem oddly content. They may even exaggerate your situation when talking to others, turning your challenges into gossip. Buddhism teaches us to view such people with compassion, not resentment. Buddha reminds us when someone behaves badly toward you, remember that he is acting in accordance with his own understanding. Their joy in your struggles is a reflection of their flawed perspective, not a measure of your worth. Another scenario might involve subtle sabotage. Let's say you're training for a big event, perhaps a marathon or a competition, and someone close to you keeps discouraging you. They might say things like, "Are you sure you're ready for this? You don't want to embarrass yourself." Or worse, they might tempt you into actions that derail your progress, like skipping training or indulging in unhealthy habits. Their discouragement isn't always blatant, but it's consistent enough to make you doubt yourself. The Buddhist approach here is to maintain focus on your goals and not let their actions influence your path. Buddha advised, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. By staying committed to your values and aspirations, you not only rise above their negativity, but also set an example of resilience and integrity. Number 2, they emit a negative energy. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt a shift in the atmosphere, as if the air got heavier? Maybe you couldn't pinpoint why, but you just knew something was off. Then, as you spent more time around a certain person, it became clear they seemed to carry a cloud of negativity wherever they went. Their presence alone could drain the energy from the room, leaving you feeling uneasy or even anxious. That's the power of the energy people emit, and those with truly negative energy have an uncanny ability to disrupt the harmony around them. Negative energy isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's in the subtle things, a sigh that feels loaded with judgment, a comment that seems innocent but leaves a sting, or even just the way they look at you. You might notice how their presence makes you question yourself or feel uncomfortable in your own skin. They may not say much, but their energy speaks volumes. From a Buddhist perspective, this is a reminder of the power of perception. As Buddha said, it is not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that matters. Recognizing this energy for what it is, a reflection of their internal state, helps you remain grounded. The Buddhists would encourage us to guard our inner state in such situations. Buddha reminds us you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Their negative energy doesn't have to affect you unless you allow it to. Picture yourself as a steady rock in the middle of a storm. Their negativity might swirl around you, but it doesn't have to move you. Negative energy often manifests in subtle but persistent ways. For instance, you might notice how this person thrives on gossip, turning every conversation into a critique of others. Or perhaps they're always playing the victim, recounting stories where they've been wronged without ever taking accountability. Being around them can feel like stepping into quicksand. The longer you stay, the harder it is to maintain your own positivity. In moments like these, Buddhist wisdom teaches us to set boundaries, both emotional and physical. Buddha said, keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. This doesn't mean avoiding every difficult person, but it does mean being mindful of how much energy you invest in these interactions. If someone's negativity is weighing on you, it's okay to limit your exposure or even politely excuse yourself from their company. Sometimes this negativity isn't directed at you, but still affects the environment. Imagine a friend who constantly complains about their circumstances, how unfair life is, how others have it better, how nothing ever goes their way. While you may empathize with their struggles, the unrelenting stream of pessimism can feel like a heavy weight on your shoulders. Buddhism teaches us to approach such situations with compassion, but also with discernment. Buddha said, you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. Listen if you can, but don't absorb their energy as your own. What's important to remember is that people emitting negative energy are often struggling internally. There's a moment in every life where everything shifts. Not because the world changes, but because you change. It's the moment you realize that waiting for the perfect conditions, the perfect time, or the perfect opportunity is a game you'll never win. The Buddhists taught us that life doesn't reward intentions or idle dreams. It rewards action. And the greatest power you have is the ability to choose right now to act. No matter your circumstances, no matter the obstacles, you hold the key to transformation. Today we're diving into the timeless wisdom of Buddhism to uncover how you can seize that power, take control, and align your life with purpose and meaning. This could be the moment where everything changes for you. Let's begin. The catalyst of change in life's grand narrative. There are instances that serve as profound turning points where the ordinary flow of events is interrupted by something extraordinary. These are not just mere interruptions, but pivotal moments that can completely redefine our existence. These moments are our focus today, the inflection points that signal a shift from one chapter of our life to another. That you might already have experienced several such moments, or perhaps yours are yet to come, lurking just around the corner. Regardless of their timing, these moments hold a beautiful promise. Once we embrace them, they set us on new, more enlightened paths, brimming with potential and laden with opportunities. Transformative instances. They often arrive unannounced, catching us off guard. A casual conversation that opens new vistas of thought. An unexpected encounter that challenges our long-held beliefs. Or a sudden personal revelation that shakes the very foundation of our understanding. Buddhism, an ancient philosophy that teaches the virtue of wisdom. Courage and acceptance offers a lens through which to view these changes. It teaches us that while we cannot control every event that happens to us, we can control our reactions to them, and in our responses lies our power and our potential for growth. Reflecting on my own life, I recall a time filled with uncertainty and struggle. At 25, I found myself grappling with a reality far from what I had envisioned. There I was, financially unstable and mentally exhausted, questioning the very essence of my efforts and the direction of my life. It was a period marked by deep introspection and a quest for meaning, a quest that many of us embark on at various stages of our lives. Buddhism reminds us that adversity is not just a test of our resilience, but a teacher of invaluable lessons. It is in our most challenging times that we often gained the clearest insights into who we are and what we are capable of achieving. This introspective journey led to a life-altering realization. Change was necessary. But how does one initiate such change? The Buddhists would argue that change begins with self-awareness, recognizing the discrepancies between who we are and who we wish to be. This recognition is the first step towards genuine transformation. It involves acknowledging our imperfections, understanding our strengths, and most importantly, seizing the courage to refine our character in alignment with our ideals. In my case, the catalyst for such change was a mentor, a figure who embodied the virtues I aspired to. My mentor was not just a guide, but a mirror reflecting both my flaws and my potentials. He introduced me to the core principle that if one desires change, one must become the agent of that change. This principle, simple yet profound, resonated deeply with me, echoing the Buddhist philosophy of personal responsibility and the power of self-control. My mentor's advice was clear. If you seek change, you must first change yourself. This advice, though daunting, highlighted a fundamental truth that our external circumstances often reflect our internal state. To alter my path, I needed to transform from within, embracing new habits, attitudes, and behaviors that aligned with the future I envisioned. Embracing change is not merely about making different choices. It's about transforming how we think, react, and engage with the world. It's about developing resilience, the kind the Buddhists celebrated. Resilience that doesn't merely endure, but actively transforms challenges into opportunities for personal growth and wisdom. Each challenge faced, each obstacle overcome, and each fear confronted adds to our resilience and shapes us into more competent, capable individuals. The power of mentorship in navigating the often turbulent waters of life. The guidance of a mentor can serve as a beacon, illuminating the path towards personal and professional growth. Mentorship is not merely about acquiring knowledge or learning how to perform tasks more efficiently. It's fundamentally about transformation. A mentor sees the potential within us that we might overlook and challenges us to reach beyond our current limitations. Consider the Buddhist belief in the power of wisdom and guidance from others. The Buddhists, including philosophers like wise monk and Buddha, often discussed the value of learning from those who have already walked the paths we are currently navigating. They understood that having a mentor is like having a wise advisor who can provide perspective that comes from experience and reflection, which are crucial in helping us develop the virtue and resilience needed to face life's challenges. A mentor can often be the catalyst for dramatic personal transformation. They do not simply respond to questions or provide ad hoc advice. Instead, they invest in their mentees, fostering a deep understanding and helping them to see the world through a broader lens. This relationship helps to cultivate critical thinking and encourages a mentee to question their own assumptions and beliefs. In the context of Buddhism, this reflective practice is essential, as it pushes individuals to consider not just what they do, but why they do it, aligning their actions with their values and principles. The real power of mentorship lies in its ability to accelerate learning and growth. By sharing their own experiences, mentors can help mentees avoid common pitfalls and navigate challenges more effectively. This is not about making life easier, but about making the learning process more efficient. Buddhism teaches us to value knowledge that comes from experience, practical wisdom, as it is a vital tool in the pursuit of a good and meaningful life. A mentor embodies this wisdom, having already faced similar struggles and learned from them, thereby providing a roadmap that can guide us through similar challenges. Moreover, a mentor's impact extends beyond practical advice. They can instill confidence in their mentees, reinforcing their ability to make decisions and take action. This boost in self-assurance is crucial, especially when one is faced with difficult choices, or when stepping out of one's comfort zone, both common scenarios in personal and professional growth. The Buddhist practice of cultivating inner strength and confidence through reasoned thought and reflection is mirrored in the mentor-mentee relationship where encouragement plays a key role. Mentors also model behaviors and attitudes that are aligned with our aspirational selves. They exemplify the virtues we strive to embody, such as integrity, courage, and perseverance. Seeing these qualities in action provides a living example of what is possible, inspiring us to adopt similar behaviors and attitudes in our own lives. This aspect of mentorship is particularly resonant with Buddhism, which emphasizes the importance of embodying virtues not just in thought, but in daily practice. Furthermore, mentors can help us to connect the dots between disparate parts of our lives, helping to create a coherent narrative that aligns with our overarching life goals. They provide a sounding board for our ideas, that offering feedback that is not just about validation, but about challenging and refining our thoughts and approaches. This guidance is invaluable as we strive to live a life that is not only successful by external standards, but also richly fulfilling and aligned with our deepest values. Taking responsibility. In the journey of self-improvement and personal growth, one of the most pivotal steps is the act of taking responsibility for one's life. This is not just about acknowledging where you are or what you have done. It's about accepting that your current situation, regardless of external circumstances, is the result of your own choices and actions. This concept aligns closely with Buddhist philosophy, which emphasizes control over one's inner state and responses rather than external events. The Buddhists teach us that while we cannot control everything that happens in our lives, we have absolute power over our reactions. Buddha, a prominent Buddhist philosopher, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This principle highlights the essence of personal responsibility. When we face challenges or setbacks, it's easy to blame external factors, the economy, other people, or our upbringing. However, embracing Buddhist wisdom means shifting focus from the external to the internal, from blame to accountability. Taking responsibility involves a deep dive into self-awareness. It requires us to look honestly at our decisions and behaviors, and to question how these have shaped our current realities. This isn't about self-blame or dwelling on past mistakes, but is about learning from these experiences to foster growth and resilience. For instance, if you find yourself unsatisfied with your career, rather than blaming the job market or your past employers, Buddhism would advise you to explore how your own choices led to your current position and what steps you can take to change your path. Moreover, taking responsibility empowers us to make changes. It's an act of reclaiming control over our lives. When we stop seeing ourselves as victims of circumstances and start viewing ourselves as active participants in our destinies, we unlock a powerful agency. This agency is the driving force behind real, sustainable change. It enables us to make decisions that align more closely with our values and goals, rather than reacting impulsively to situations. In practice, taking responsibility can manifest in various aspects of life. Financially, it might mean setting a budget and sticking to it, rather than lamenting a lack of funds. At the intersection of the old year and the new, we are often busy with lengthy lists of ambitious goals and new habits we aspire to adopt into our lives. However, those with a deeper understanding of transformation will recognize that the true secret of change does not lie entirely in adding more, but in letting go. This is what the Buddhist philosopher Wise Monk emphasized. Not everything is difficult because we don't dare to do it, but we don't dare to do it because it is difficult. It is the barriers we create for ourselves that hinder our journey toward becoming the best version of who we are. Buddhist philosophy is not just about building a good life. It also focuses on freeing ourselves from mental, emotional, and negative habitual burdens. To live a fulfilling and virtuous life, we must have the courage to confront and let go of what holds us back. In this video, we will explore 14 habits you must let go of to make 2025 the most remarkable year of your life, inspired by the profound principles of Buddhism. Get ready to embark on this journey and share the phrase that reflects your commitment in the comments below. 2025, I embrace my best self. This will be the most powerful declaration to mark the beginning of a meaningful and transformative year. Habit number 1, excessive comfort. Comfort, though enchanting, often plays the role of a silent enemy to personal growth. It wraps us in the cocoon of familiarity, lulling us into believing that ease is synonymous with happiness. Yet, as the Buddhist philosophers taught, true fulfillment does not come from avoiding challenges, but from confronting them head-on. Buddha once reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When we choose comfort over challenge, we relinquish that power, allowing stagnation to take root in our lives. Imagine a weekend spent binge-watching television shows curled up under a blanket with a plate of snacks beside you. This is the epitome of comfort. While there is nothing inherently wrong with relaxation, overindulging in such habits can lead to dissatisfaction. The mind, when deprived of meaningful engagement, begins to wander, and a subtle sense of restlessness emerges. This is the body's way of signaling that growth has been neglected. Growth thrives in discomfort, much like muscles become stronger through resistance. A concrete example is learning a new skill such as swimming. For someone afraid of water, stepping into the pool for the first time can be an overwhelming experience. The sensation of water enveloping the body, the fear of sinking, and the vulnerability of not knowing what to do make the challenge daunting. But through persistence, embracing the cold water, trusting the instructor, and repeating floating exercises, confidence gradually builds. The joy of overcoming fear far outweighs the initial discomfort in life. Challenges, whether physical, emotional, or intellectual, are the rungs of the ladder to growth. The Buddhists believed that adversity is not something to fear, but a tool for transformation. By stepping out of our comfort zones, we cultivate resilience and unlock our inner potential. Excessive comfort can feel like a refuge, but it is a deceptive one. Only by embracing discomfort can we truly make 2025 or any year the best year of our lives. Habit number 2, complaining. Complaining is an easy trap to fall into, but its consequences run deeper than we often realize. Every complaint, whether spoken aloud or simmering silently in our minds, drains our mental and emotional energy. Rather than addressing the root of the problem, complaining allows negativity to fester, creating a cycle of dissatisfaction that clouds our ability to think clearly and act decisively. To illustrate this, consider the story of Helen Keller, a woman who overcame the profound challenges of being both deaf and blind, despite facing a world that could have left her isolated and bitter. Keller refused to let her circumstances define her. Instead of lamenting what she lacked, she embraced learning with the help of her teacher Anne Sullivan, and went on to become an author, activist, and symbol of resilience. Keller once remarked, "Although the world is full of suffering, it is full also of the overcoming of it." Her life exemplifies how a proactive mindset can transform adversity into a foundation for growth and inspiration, showing us that complaining only diminishes our ability to see opportunities for action and change. Adopting a proactive mindset does not mean ignoring problems. It means approaching them constructively. The next time you feel the urge to complain, pause and ask yourself, what can I do to improve this situation? Whether it's finding a solution or simply adjusting your perspective. This shift in focus turns problems into challenges that fuel growth instead of obstacles that breed despair. When we abandon the habit of complaining, a stronger version of ourselves begins to emerge. However, another dangerous habit often accompanies complaining: the tendency to constantly judge others. What happens when we focus less on solutions and more on how others fail to meet our standards? This is where judgment creeps in. Subtle but powerful. It's a habit that can poison relationships, breed resentment, and distract us from our own progress. But is there a better way? A way to rise above the noise of relentless judgment? Let us explore this further habit. Number 3, constant judgment. Have you ever found yourself trapped in an endless cycle of judgment, categorizing people, actions, or situations as good or bad, right or wrong? While this may seem like control, it is not. Constant judgment consumes an extraordinary amount of energy, clouds your awareness, and erects walls between you and reality. In this mental chaos, clarity and calm become distant dreams. The Buddhists understood this well. Buddha, one of the most revered Buddhist philosophers, wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. His wisdom reminds us that judgment is often a self-imposed burden, one that saps our strength and blinds us to the true nature of things. Imagine heading to work in the morning amidst heavy traffic. You are running late. Every driver seems rude, and the world feels like it's conspiring against you. Judgment sparks frustration. Why can't people drive properly? Or, this city is such a mess. This spiral compounds your stress, isolating you in anger. Now picture observing the same scenario without judgment. You notice the blaring horns, the slow pace, and even your own impatience, but you resist labeling the experience as bad. Suddenly the world feels less hostile, and you are free to focus on finding solutions instead of drowning in negativity. Buddhist philosophy reflects on detachment, urging us to focus on our perceptions and responses rather than external circumstances. By refraining from hastily categorizing every experience, we find freedom in simply existing, gaining deeper insights into the fleeting nature of thoughts and emotions. Such discipline allows us to navigate life calmly, even in challenging situations. Through this lens, the habit of constant judgment is revealed as an obstacle to clarity and serenity. Letting go of it not only reduces emotional turmoil, but also opens the door to a deeper understanding of reality. Continuous judgment is not a shield, but a chain. To truly live a life of clarity and calm in 2025, abandon this habit. Observe the world as it is without rushing to label it. Within this space of non-judgment lies your freedom, strength, and peace. Habit number 4, the illusion of knowing everything. On the grand journey of life, the illusion that you know everything is one of the most dangerous traps of the human mind. The intellectual ego, a subtle whisper that says you already know it all, is not only a sign of overconfidence, but also a wall that blocks the path to learning, growth, and fulfillment. At the core of Buddhist philosophy lies intellectual humility and the cultivation of a beginner's mindset, the most powerful antidote to this illusion. Imagine an experienced expert attending a seminar. During the discussion, someone presents a groundbreaking idea. Instead of listening attentively, the expert dismisses it internally, thinking, "I've heard this before. What could they possibly teach me?" This is the illusion of knowing it all at work. By clinging to the knowledge they perceive as perfect, they miss the opportunity to expand their understanding and explore new possibilities. This scenario famously played out in the life of Charles Darwin. Despite his revolutionary contributions to science, Darwin maintained a deep intellectual humility. He once remarked, "Ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge," even as one of history's greatest thinkers. Darwin constantly challenged his own assumptions and remained open to new perspectives. It was this humility that not only propelled his discoveries, but also shaped his legacy as a lifelong learner, cultivating a beginner's mindset. Viewing the world with curiosity and openness invites wisdom into our lives. It allows us to ask questions without fear of seeming ignorant, to listen rather than speak, and to recognize that everyone, regardless of status, has something valuable to teach us. As the Buddhists would argue, true strength lies not in asserting dominance through knowledge, but in understanding that we are always students of life. As you prepare for 2025, ask yourself, what assumptions are holding me back and limiting my personal growth? What would happen if I embraced each day with the curiosity of a beginner? Share your thoughts in the comments. What strategies have helped you overcome the illusion of knowing it all together? We can embark on a journey of humility and lifelong learning. Habit number 5, lack of self-control. Imagine a moment filled with emotional chaos, a heated argument, spiraling out of control, fueled by anger you cannot contain. Or perhaps it's the allure of fleeting desires, an unnecessary shopping spree, an evening wasted scrolling mindlessly on your phone. These impulses, seemingly harmless at first, gradually erode the most precious thing you possess, your freedom. As Buddha once wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. At its core, a lack of self-control is the surrender of that power, allowing unchecked emotions and desires to dictate your life. Self-control isn't merely about suppressing anger or resisting temptation. It's the practice of mastering yourself to act in alignment with your deeper values. Without self-control, you become a prisoner of external forces, bound by fleeting pleasures and reactive emotions. This state not only undermines your goals, but also disrupts inner peace. The Buddhists believed that true freedom comes from within, and it begins with self-mastery. So, for example, the story of James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. In his youth, Clear suffered a severe head injury that upended his life and ambitions. Instead of succumbing to frustration or self-pity, he built habits centered on small, consistent efforts. By mastering his emotions and focusing on long-term progress, Clear transformed his life and achieved extraordinary success. His journey underscores a Buddhist principle. Self-control is the foundation of a meaningful and fulfilling life. Now think about your own life. How often have you let anger dictate your words or desires, pull you away from your goals? Buddhist philosophy urges us to pause, reflect, and act deliberately. Mastering oneself doesn't mean denying emotions, but guiding them wisely. As you practice this, you reclaim autonomy and nurture an unshakable inner peace to make 2025 a year of transformation. Resolve to confront the silent adversary of self-control. By mastering yourself, you not only break free from the chains of impulsiveness, but also live a life aligned with your highest values, a life of freedom, strength, and tranquility. Habit number 6, giving less than your best effort. Mediocrity is a silent thief. It does not boldly announce its presence, nor does it barge into your life. Instead, it creeps in bit by bit. In every moment, we choose to accept less than our best. The consistent failure to give our utmost effort, even in the smallest tasks, accumulates over time, leading to a life that falls short of its inherent potential. In those moments when we accept good enough, we inadvertently forfeit the greatness we are entirely capable of achieving. Imagine this: you are participating in a group project at work. The deadline is approaching, and instead of striving to contribute creative ideas, you opt to do just the bare minimum, enough to avoid criticism, but not enough to inspire. What is the result? A lackluster presentation, unimpressed stakeholders, and missed opportunities for both you and your team. Now compare this to a scenario where you give your all researching ideas late into the night, motivating your teammates and refining the final product until it's as good as it can be. The outcome may not be perfect, but the pride and growth you gain from the effort will transform your life. One path leads to mediocrity. The other builds character. In Buddhist philosophy, striving for excellence is not about achieving perfection, but about consistently showing up as the best version of yourself. It means acting in alignment with your values and finding pride in the effort, not just the outcome. When you commit wholeheartedly to everything you do, whether it's your career, relationships, or personal goals, you develop resilience, discipline, and a profound sense of purpose. This dedication not only elevates the quality of your work, but also transforms who you are as a person as 2025 approaches. Take a moment to reflect on the areas of your life where mediocrity may have crept in. What would happen if you approached every task with maximum focus and effort? True fulfillment doesn't come from external rewards, but from knowing you've done your very best. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What areas of your life could benefit from a renewed commitment to excellence? Share your insights, and let's discuss how we can make 2025 the best year yet. Habit number 7, negative creativity. Have you ever wondered why your efforts don't yield the desired results? Mediocrity is not an unexpected destination. but the consequence of continuously underperforming. Sadly, negative creativity, though seemingly harmless, is one of the deepest roots of this stagnation. Negative creativity manifests in many forms. Excessive worry about things that haven't happened, magnifying minor mistakes into major disasters, or spending hours justifying failures instead of learning from them, for instance. A businessman once shared that instead of focusing on improving his product, he spent too much time coming up with reasons why customers didn't return. He blamed the market and competitors, never looking at the shortcomings in his operations. It wasn't until he realized he was trapped in a cycle of negative thinking that he decided to change and improve himself. As a result, his business soon flourished. Buddhist philosophy reminds us you become what you repeatedly do. Therefore, if you want to overcome mediocrity, you must immediately stop negative creative habits and replace them with actions aimed at excellence. Focus on doing the small things to the best of your ability, as they are the foundation of character and will help you unlock your full potential. We want to express our gratitude and congratulations to you for making it halfway through today's video. Your presence here is not just our pleasure, but also proof that you are fully ready for the journey of self-transformation. Take a moment to pause and appreciate yourself for your efforts. Now, as we step into the next part of the journey, shift your attention to the following behavior: releasing emotional baggage. Letting go of emotional burdens will be the key to stepping into 2025 with a light heart and abundant energy habit. Number 8, releasing emotional baggage in life. Carrying the burden of past mistakes or resentments is like dragging an anchor while trying to move forward. It drains energy, clouds judgment, and traps us in a cycle of regret. The Buddhist philosophers teach that true freedom comes from emotional liberation, not by forgetting the past, but by reinterpreting its meaning. Consider the story of Sarah, a woman weighed down by guilt over her role in the dissolution of a business partnership for years. She harbored resentment toward her former partner, endlessly replaying the painful moments when trust was broken. This emotional burden not only hindered her ability to start anew, but also negatively affected her relationships and health. Inspired by Buddhist philosophy, she began to reinterpret the events. Instead of focusing on the betrayal, she sought the hidden lessons in the experience. She realized that she had learned resilience, prudence, and the value of clear communication. Through journaling and moments of quiet reflection, she released her anger and resentment, transforming them into clarity. Freed from the past, Sarah was finally able to rebuild her career with compassion and insight. Practicing emotional liberation does not mean denying the pain we have endured, but choosing to rewrite its meaning. By letting go of resentment, we free ourselves to see things more clearly. Relationships deepen as compassion replaces bitterness, and our decisions align more closely with the person we aspire to become. The power of emotional release lies in its ability to clear the mental clutter, creating space for new growth. When we let go of the weight of the past, we build a stronger foundation for the life we desire. By reinterpreting and releasing, we turn pain into purpose, crafting the best version of ourselves for the year ahead. Habit number 9, focus on the process, not goals. In the relentless race to achieve success, many of us often become obsessed with results, measuring our self-worth by accomplishments or milestones achieved. However, this obsession with results often leaves us feeling dissatisfied even after reaching our goals. Why is that? Because the satisfaction of achieving a goal is fleeting, and the question "what's next" quickly emerges. As Buddhist philosopher Buddha once said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When we focus solely on results, we surrender our freedom to external circumstances, tying our happiness to fleeting things. Imagine a businesswoman pouring her heart into building her company. If she evaluates success solely by hitting a specific revenue target, she might overlook the value of late nights spent problem-solving, the resilience cultivated through failures, or the relationships forged along the way. She would miss the true rewards of the journey of growth, learning, and self-discovery. A real-life example of this shift in perspective comes from Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian in history. Despite his remarkable success, Phelps admitted to feeling empty after achieving his Olympic dream. His turning point came when he shifted his mindset from chasing gold medals to focusing on the process, the training, discipline, and love for swimming. This change not only reignited his passion, but also helped him find lasting happiness beyond the spotlight of victory. In Buddhist philosophy, the process is where we grow. It is the small daily actions that shape our character and build resilience. By embracing the process, we free ourselves from anxiety about outcomes and discover joy in becoming the best version of ourselves. Ask yourself, are you chasing the finish line, or are you growing with each step of the journey? Share your thoughts. How can focusing on the process transform your approach to life in 2025? Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your perspective. Habit number 10, avoid the immediate availability trap. In a world overwhelmed by constant connectivity, responding to every notification, email, or call seems almost irresistible. However, this whirlwind of urgency not only depletes our mental energy, but also robs us of the ability to live intentionally. When we prioritize the urgent over what is truly important, we fall into the trap of being perpetually available. A never-ending race for immediate results, leaving us trapped in distraction and dissatisfaction to make 2025 a meaningful year. Breaking free from this trap is essential. Imagine a young man, James, starting his day with a meticulously planned to-do list. Yet as soon as he opens his email, he is overwhelmed by a flood of urgent requests from colleagues and clients. His carefully planned priorities quickly collapse under the pressure of immediate demands. By the end of the day, James is exhausted, but the most important tasks, strategizing for an upcoming presentation, reflecting on his career goals, or spending time with family, remain unfinished. James' story reflects the reality many of us face. The allure of instant responsiveness and perpetual availability creates the illusion of productivity, while in truth it steals away meaningful accomplishments. The Buddhists understood the value of intentional living, and their wisdom remains relevant. As Buddha once wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This serves as a reminder to prioritize what truly matters and to act according to deep values. Rather than letting urgency dominate our lives to escape the trap of being perpetually available, we must learn to resist distractions and say yes to a purposeful way of living. This requires setting boundaries and dedicating uninterrupted time for deep work and rest. More importantly, we should ask ourselves, will this still matter tomorrow, next week, or next year? Truly important tasks often require patience and focus, while merely urgent ones only feed fleeting anxiety. By prioritizing what is important over what is immediate, we not only reclaim our time, but also regain clarity and purpose in life. Let 2025 be the year you stop living reactively in the grip of urgency and start creating a life that truly reflects your will and intentions. Habit number 11, serve without seeking recognition, motivation derived from others. Recognition is like a flame that easily extinguishes. It burns brightly when praised, but quickly fades when it no longer receives attention. Buddhist philosophy reminds us that acting for intrinsic values, rather than seeking external approval, is the path to freedom and peace when we live for the judgment of others. Every criticism feels like an arrow to the heart, and the silence of the crowd turns into an echo of insecurity. However, when we serve a higher purpose, kindness, dedication, or the work itself, the greatest reward isn't applause, but an inner sense of fulfillment. Take, for example, the story of Katherine Johnson, a brilliant NASA mathematician who made significant contributions to the success of space missions like Apollo 11. Throughout her career, Katherine didn't seek the spotlight despite her crucial role. She worked with dedication not for praise, but because she believed in the value of her work. It was only many years later that the world began to recognize her contributions. Yet this delayed recognition didn't diminish Katherine's legacy because her greatness didn't lie in trophies or titles, but in the work she accomplished with honesty and passion. Ask yourself, are you working to prove something to the world, or are you acting to stay true to your values? True freedom doesn't come from the approval of others, but from finding joy in the journey, not just the destination. To maintain focus on core values, your environment plays a more critical role than you might think. A cluttered room can lead to a cluttered mind. A space filled with negativity can easily pull you away from inner balance. So how do you create a physical and mental environment that fosters growth? That's what we'll explore in the next. Habit number 12, curate your environment. Imagine stepping into a room filled with noise, overlapping voices, and the weight of expectations pressing in from all sides. Everything in the room feels disconnected from who you are. The energy is stifling, and every action you take seems subject to judgment. Life can feel like this when we allow our environment, both physical and social, to be dictated by the need for external validation, actions driven by a desire for external approval, or attempts to meet standards that conflict with our values bring only unnecessary suffering. The Buddhist philosophers taught us that true freedom does not come from molding the world to our will, but from creating an inner and outer environment that reflects integrity while seeking intrinsic rewards. Take the story of Simone Biles, the Olympic gymnast who chose to withdraw from competitions in 2021 to prioritize her mental health. The world initially expected her to keep competing to win for national pride and public admiration. Yet she made a conscious decision, to craft her environment by choosing peace and reflection over the noise of expectations. In doing so, she found the freedom to heal and rediscover her purpose, not as an athlete bound by others' recognition, but as a person living according to her own values. Her courage sent a powerful message. Greatness is not measured by medals, but by the strength to uphold one's integrity. Buddha once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." This principle underscores the importance of shaping our environment. When you actively curate relationships, spaces, and goals that nurture your character, you liberate yourself from the chains of societal pressure. Instead of chasing applause or approval, you create a sanctuary where growth thrives. As 2025 begins, ask yourself, does your environment reflect your true self? If not, it's time to let go of what no longer serves you. Build a space, both physical and mental, where integrity flourishes and the only recognition that matters is your own habit. Number 13. Daily discipline. Over grand achievements, many people become engrossed in pursuing grand achievements, forgetting that it is the small, consistent efforts made daily that form the true foundation of success. Buddhist philosophy reminds us that instead of obsessing over the destination, we should focus on the journey, guided by daily discipline. Discipline is not a one-time act meant to impress. It is a habit cultivated through small, repeated actions. It is how you live, not just what you do. Imagine someone wanting to learn how to play the piano initially. They feel excited and set high goals, dedicating an entire week to intense practice. However, after just a few days, they become discouraged by the lack of visible progress and eventually give up. Conversely, if they choose a slow but steady approach, practicing for just 15 minutes a day, regardless of their mood, they will see significant improvement after a year. This method not only enhances their piano playing skills, but also builds resilience and self-belief. A real-world example of the power of daily discipline is the story of James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. When he started blogging, he didn't set grandiose goals, but simply committed to writing one post per week. Over time, not only did his content improve, but his writing skills also advanced significantly. This small habit laid the foundation for a thriving career, inspiring millions of people worldwide. The lesson here is that progress doesn't come from explosive bursts of effort, but from small, consistent steps repeated over time. Start with small but regular habits. While the results may not be immediately apparent, over time they will lead to remarkable achievements. So are you applying this principle in your life, or are you still drawn to the empty promises of quick success? Daily discipline teaches us that patience and commitment not only build skills, but also strengthen inner resilience, a quality that helps you face any challenge life throws your way. What small step can you take today to move closer to your goals? Share your thoughts in the comments so we can inspire and learn from one another. Habit number 14, combat procrastination. We often tell ourselves that we will act when the perfect time comes, when work is less busy, when we have enough skills, or when we feel ready. But the perfect time doesn't exist. It's merely an illusion, a subtle mental trap to justify procrastination. Buddhist philosophy reminds us that action, not waiting, is the true tool to move life forward. Think of Steve's story, a young entrepreneur who delayed starting his business project because he believed he needed more experience. For 2 years, Steve quietly planned, researched, and waited for the perfect time to begin. But when an unexpected economic crisis struck, the market he intended to target gradually shifted and his idea lost its viability. Steve realized that if he had acted from the start, taking small steps, such as testing his product or exploring the market, he might have gained momentum, clarity, and perhaps even success. The magic of action lies in its ability to create clarity. A book project can begin with writing 1 page a day. A health goal can start with a 10-minute walk. Small steps not only bring you closer to your goal, but also break the cycle of procrastination, putting you back in control. The year 2025 can be your best year yet, but only if you start now. Don't let procrastination hold back your potential. With just one small step, you'll be one step closer to the future. You've always dreamed of acting today. Even imperfectly is the key to unlocking tomorrow. We've explored 14 habits to let go of in order to make 2025 a remarkable turning point in life, from releasing complaints to steering clear of unrealistic expectations. Each lesson is not just philosophical, but also a practical guide to living more freely, confidently, and resiliently in the face of challenges. All of this is inspired by Buddhist philosophy, which emphasizes the true value of self-control and accepting what lies beyond our power. Looking back, which habit do you feel most ready to give up to build a fulfilling 2025? Is there anything on the list that surprised you or made you reflect further? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your story if you found this video helpful. Don't forget to hit like to let us know you enjoy content like this. Share the video with your friends and family to spread the profound values of Buddhist philosophy, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future inspirational videos. Let's be honest, life isn't always smooth sailing. We all have dreams, ambitions, and goals. But sooner or later, we hit a wall. Maybe it's self-doubt creeping in, an unexpected setback, or a lack of motivation. In those moments, questions start to surface. Am I really capable of achieving this? Do I have the strength to keep going? The truth is, the power to move forward is already within you, but it doesn't come from waiting for the right moment or relying on sheer willpower alone. It comes from discipline, from showing up every single day, even when you feel like quitting. It's about pushing past your limits, overcoming obstacles, and rising every time you fall. In this episode, we'll break down 10 powerful principles to help you push through, stay disciplined, and unlock your true potential, rooted in Buddhist wisdom and practical strategies. These aren't just motivational quotes. They're actionable steps you can start applying right now, no matter where you are in your journey. So let's dive in and start building the resilience you need to truly win in life. 1. Unlock your true potential. How often do you find yourself doubting your abilities? Maybe it's the thought of starting something new, or maybe you're in the middle of a project and wonder if you're really cut out for it. That little voice of self-doubt can be overwhelming, and it's easy to listen to it and believe that you're not capable of achieving your dreams. But here's the truth. You have untapped potential inside of you, and all it takes to unlock it is the willingness to push past those self-imposed limits. Self-doubt is one of the biggest obstacles that holds us back. We look at the challenges ahead, the goals we want to achieve, and we start to question whether we have what it takes. It's like standing at the base of a mountain, looking up at the peak, and convincing yourself that you'll never make it. The higher you look, the more daunting it seems. But the truth is, you don't have to climb the entire mountain in one go. You just have to take the first step, then the next, and keep moving forward. Progress is made in small, consistent actions, not in grand leaps. The Buddhists knew this all too well. Buddha, one of the greatest Buddhist philosophers, wrote in his meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. What he's telling us is that your potential is not limited by your circumstances, but by the way you choose to respond to them. The way you perceive challenges, obstacles, and setbacks can either fuel your growth or hold you back. The key to unlocking your true potential is in your ability to control your mindset. Self-doubt often comes from fear. The fear of failing, the fear of not being good enough, or the fear of rejection. But every time you give in to that fear, you let it define your limits. You stop yourself from even trying, and that's where the danger lies. By staying in your comfort zone, you never give yourself the chance to see just how much you're capable of. Imagine for a moment that you push past that fear. What would happen if you started believing that you could succeed, even if the road ahead seemed challenging? What if you decided to take action despite your doubts, to push through the uncertainty and give your best effort? That's when things begin to change. When you start taking those small steps, no matter how hard they seem at first, you'll start building momentum. Each step you take will strengthen your confidence, and the doubts will start to fade away. Think about someone you admire, a person who's accomplished something extraordinary. They didn't achieve it by being fearless or perfect. They achieved it by facing their fears and doubts head on, by pushing through the uncertainty and continuing to move forward one step at a time. You have the same potential inside you. All it takes is the courage to start and the discipline to keep going. Start today by identifying one area of your life where self-doubt has been holding you back. It could be a project you've been postponing or a goal you've been too afraid to pursue. Commit to taking just one small step toward that goal today. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be progress. With each step you take, you'll unlock more of your true potential. Your potential is limitless, but only if you choose to break through the barriers of self-doubt. It's time to stop holding yourself back. You've got what it takes. Now it's time to prove it to yourself. 2. Find your inner drive. It's easy to get excited at the beginning of a new project, a new goal, or a new year. The motivation is high and you feel unstoppable. But what happens when that excitement starts to fade? What happens when the initial thrill of starting something new wears off and you're left with the day-to-day grind? The truth is, motivation alone isn't enough to keep you going. Motivation is a spark. It lights the fire, but it doesn't keep it burning. It fades, it wanes, and it disappears when challenges arise. What keeps you moving forward when motivation is no longer enough is discipline and purpose. These are the things that will keep you going, even when the road gets tough, and they are the foundation of true success. Think about the times in your life when you've achieved something significant. Were you motivated every single day? Probably not. In fact, there were probably days when you didn't feel like getting out of bed or facing the tasks ahead. But you did it anyway, right? You showed up, did the work, and kept going. That's the power of discipline. It's the ability to keep pushing forward, even when you don't feel like it. It's the act of doing what needs to be done, even when you don't have the motivation to do it. The Buddhists believed that true freedom and strength come from self-discipline. They understood that the path to greatness is not paved with easy wins or constant motivation, but with consistent effort and focus. Buddha in his meditations wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, obstacles are not to be avoided. They are to be used as fuel. When you find your purpose and align it with your actions, you become unstoppable. Finding your inner drive starts with understanding why you do what you do. What is your deeper purpose? What is the greater vision that drives you beyond the daily tasks and hurdles? When you connect with this purpose, you don't need to wait for motivation to strike. You can rely on your discipline and determination to keep you moving forward. Take a moment to think about your goals. What are you working toward and why does it matter to you? When you find that core reason, that deep motivation, you'll find that even on the tough days, you'll have the strength to keep going. You'll be able to tap into your inner drive and push through the challenges that come your way. One of the biggest obstacles to staying motivated is the feeling of being overwhelmed. When you focus only on the big picture and the end result, it can be easy to get discouraged. But here's a simple trick. Break it down. Focus on small, actionable steps. When you take one step at a time, the bigger goal doesn't seem so daunting. Each small win will keep you moving forward, and each step will bring you closer to your purpose. In moments of doubt, ask yourself, why did I start this? Reconnect with your purpose and let that inner drive propel you forward. Motivation will come and go, but purpose and discipline will keep you on track, no matter what. So the next time you feel your motivation slipping, remember that it's not about waiting for that burst of inspiration. It's about pushing through anyway, focusing on your discipline, and staying connected to your deeper purpose. Your inner drive is the key to achieving anything you set your mind to. Trust in that and let it guide you. 3. Break the fear barrier. Fear. It's something we all experience at some point in our lives. It can feel paralyzing, overwhelming, and all-consuming. Whether it's the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, or the fear of the unknown, it has a way of holding us back from reaching our true potential. 3. We avoid taking risks, shy away from challenges, and tell ourselves that we're not ready yet. But here's the thing, fear is the barrier between where you are now and where you want to be. The Buddhists were well aware of the power of fear. They didn't ignore it. They faced it head-on, using it as fuel for growth. Wise Monk, a prominent Buddhist philosopher, once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Fear often stems from our imagination, what we think could happen, what we imagine others might say, or how we picture failure. But in reality, fear is often much worse in our minds than it is in reality. It's a mental construct that holds us back from taking action, from stepping into the unknown and discovering our true capabilities. So how do we overcome fear? The answer isn't to eliminate it completely. That's impossible. Fear will always be there, lurking in the background. The key is learning how to face it, how to use it as a tool for growth, rather than letting it control you. The Buddhists believed in embracing adversity. They saw challenges as opportunities to build resilience and strength. In fact, they believed that the more we face our fears and overcome them, the stronger we become. The first step to breaking through the fear barrier is to acknowledge the fear. Don't try to push it away or pretend it doesn't exist. Fear is natural, and it's part of the human experience. When you feel fear, stop and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Is it failure, rejection, the unknown? By identifying the source of your fear, you take away some of its power. You can start to see that it's not as intimidating as it seems. Once you've identified your fear, shift your perspective. Instead of seeing fear as a roadblock, start to view it as a signal. A signal that you're on the verge of growth, that you're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. The things that scare us are often the very things that will lead to our greatest breakthroughs. By leaning into fear rather than avoiding it, you start to break down the barriers that are holding you back. Another key to overcoming fear is taking small, intentional actions. Fear thrives when we stay stagnant, when we don't take any action at all. But when we move forward, even in small steps, we start to gain confidence and diminish the power that fear holds over us. The Buddhists taught us that our actions are in our control, even if the outcome is uncertain. Each step you take, no matter how small, is a victory over the fear that's trying to hold you back. Think about the first time you did something that scared you. Maybe it was speaking in front of a crowd, starting a new project, or facing a difficult conversation. In the beginning, the fear felt overwhelming. But once you took that first step, the fear began to fade. You realized that the thing you feared wasn't as powerful as you had imagined. This is the power of action. Once you begin, fear loses its grip. Remember, fear is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It shows you where you need to grow, where you need to push yourself. Don't let it control your life. Face it, embrace it, and use it as fuel to propel you toward your goals. So the next time fear arises, don't shrink away from it. Step into it. Take that first step, even if it's small, and know that with each step you take, you're not just moving toward your goal, you're becoming the person you're meant to be. The person who doesn't let fear dictate their life. 4. Set clear, actionable goals. Have you ever set a big goal, full of excitement and energy, only to find that months later, you're still in the same place, feeling frustrated and stuck? We've all been there. The idea of achieving something great can be thrilling, but without clear, actionable goals, that excitement quickly fades into confusion and overwhelm. It's easy to get lost in the idea of success without knowing exactly how to get there. The problem is that without a clear plan, success remains a distant dream, not a tangible reality. The Buddhists understood this better than anyone. They didn't just set lofty ideals, they focused on what they could control and broke their larger goals down into smaller, actionable steps. They believed that without clear goals, we would drift aimlessly, constantly chasing after things that didn't align with our true purpose. The first step in achieving anything is to define exactly what you want. Be specific about your goals. Vague goals like, I want to be successful or I want to be healthier, are not enough. To make progress, you need to get detailed. What does success look like for you? What specific health goals do you want to achieve? The more specific your goals are, the clearer your path becomes. But setting goals isn't just about being specific. You need to make sure your goals are also actionable. It's not enough to write down a dream. You need to break it down into steps you can take on a daily or weekly basis. This is where many people fail. They set a big goal, but they don't map out the small necessary actions required to get there. The Buddhists believed in focusing on the process, not the outcome. They knew that success is built on small, consistent actions, not on hoping for big, dramatic changes overnight. Let's take an example. Imagine your goal is to write a book. That's a huge, daunting task, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by the enormity of it. But if you break it down, it suddenly becomes more manageable. Start by setting small, achievable milestones. Write 500 words a day or finish one chapter per week. The key is to set goals that are within your control and to make them as actionable as possible. If you focus only on the end result, it will seem too distant to achieve. But when you focus on the smaller steps, each one becomes a win and momentum starts to build. In the Buddhist tradition, this process is called virtue. Virtue isn't just about achieving a goal, it's about taking the right actions regardless of the outcome. HTTPS Buddha said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." In other words, the way you approach your goals, your mindset, determines whether you will succeed. If you approach your goals with clarity, determination, and small, deliberate steps, you will make progress every single day. Another critical component of setting clear goals is measuring your progress. It's not enough to have a goal, track your results. Check in regularly to see how you're doing. This helps you stay focused and adjust your actions when needed. The Buddhists didn't just set goals, they constantly evaluated their actions and their progress. This self-reflection helped them improve and stay on course, no matter how difficult the journey became. Finally, it's important to remain flexible. Life rarely goes exactly as planned, and sometimes you'll encounter obstacles. The key is not to abandon your goals, but to adjust your plan when needed. Remember, the process is just as important as the outcome. The Buddhists believed in accepting what is outside of their control, while focusing all their energy on what they could influence. When you set clear, actionable goals and commit to the process, you will succeed. You will have the resilience to face any challenges that come your way. So take some time today to define a clear, actionable goal. Break it down into small, manageable steps and commit to taking those steps every day. Start with what you can control and focus on the process rather than the outcome. With patience, consistency, and discipline, you'll find yourself moving closer to your dreams. 5. Develop a resilient mindset. It's easy to feel defeated when things don't go as planned. We all face setbacks, whether it's a failed project, a missed opportunity, or even personal challenges that seem to keep knocking us down. The key to overcoming these obstacles isn't just in the actions we take, but in the mindset we cultivate. A resilient mindset is what will allow you to rise every time you fall and keep moving forward, even when the road gets tough. Resilience isn't about avoiding failure, it's about how we handle it. It's the ability to look at failure not as a defeat, but as a valuable learning experience. The Buddhists understood this well. They didn't see adversity as something to be feared or avoided. They saw it as an essential part of life, something to be embraced and learned from. Wise monk, one of the great Buddhist philosophers, said difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. This is a crucial mindset shift. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles, the Buddhists taught us to view them as opportunities to grow, to build inner strength, and to develop resilience. Think about some of the most resilient people you know. These are the people who, despite facing tough times, continue to push forward. They don't let setbacks define them. Instead, they use failure as fuel to keep going. Resilience is about how you respond to the setbacks, not how you avoid them. It's about showing up every day, even when you feel like you've been beaten down. The first step to building a resilient mindset is to embrace challenges. The Buddhists didn't believe in seeking comfort. They believed in seeking growth. They knew that the greatest lessons in strength come from facing adversity head-on. So when you encounter a setback, instead of retreating or feeling defeated, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? The answer will give you the strength to keep moving forward. Failure isn't the end. It's a part of the process. It's simply a signal to adapt, adjust, and keep pushing forward. Another key to resilience is self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on yourself when things don't go as planned. We tend to focus on our failures, which can drain our energy and motivation. But instead of being self-critical, practice kindness toward yourself. Understand that mistakes are part of the human experience, and that they don't define you. What defines you is how you respond to those mistakes, whether you choose to learn from them and grow, or let them hold you back. Resilience also means staying grounded in your values. It's easy to get swept up in the chaos of life, to let the ups and downs dictate how we feel and how we act. But resilient people know who they are and what they stand for. They don't let the circumstances of life change their core beliefs or values. When things get tough, staying true to your values gives you the strength to keep moving forward. How does something that starts so beautifully become the source of pain and destruction? Why does evil creep in so silently and settle so deeply? Today, we'll uncover 7 ways narcissistic relationships allow darkness to infiltrate and spread, unraveling the true nature of their destruction through the timeless wisdom of Buddhism. We'll navigate this complex terrain, exposing the subtle tactics of narcissists and equipping you with the strength to confront and overcome them. What I'll share isn't just theoretical, it's drawn from real-life experiences and profound reflection. So stay present, listen closely, and don't miss a single step on this journey. Each strategy will reveal a new perspective, a vital lesson to help you protect and reclaim your sense of self. Walk with me to the end of this path where genuine liberation and peace await. Let's begin. Number 1, start with charm and end in ruin. Evil rarely enters your life with a terrifying appearance. It begins subtly, intimately, and irresistibly like the glow of an oil lamp in the darkness in a narcissistic relationship. This is the love-bombing phase, a dazzling display of affection. So convincing that you believe you've found true love, but this light is fleeting. It's a flame meant to lure, not to warm your heart. Think back to the last time someone made you feel remarkably special. Perhaps they locked eyes with you, spoke as if they'd known you forever, and showered you with tender messages, surprise gifts, and promises of eternal happiness. One woman recounted how her ex surprised her with a romantic evening complete with a speech declaring her as the most perfect woman he had ever met in that moment. She believed she was everything to him. What she didn't know was that these grand gestures were merely the prologue to a manipulative play, initial charm. No matter how enchanting, if driven by an intent to shatter your spirit, and life is evil, masquerading as love, Buddhism reminds us to look beyond appearances and examine the essence of things. Once trust and affection are secured, the narcissist subtly infiltrates your mind. Compliments grow scarce, replaced by veiled criticisms. Are you sure that's the right way to do it? I find your approach a bit odd at first. You might interpret these as constructive feedback. Over time you realize you are changing, not to grow. But to meet their expectations, one man recalled how his girlfriend constantly questioned his love, even hours after a romantic date. Initially, her inquiries felt like a need for reassurance, but they soon became demands to continually prove his affection, leaving him disconnected from what love truly meant. Buddha wisely observed, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters in such a relationship." The critical factor isn't just what they say or do, but how you allow it to affect you. Unaware of the manipulation, you may unconsciously cede control over your life bit by bit. The collapse doesn't happen instantly. It's like a small crack in glass spreading until the entire surface shatters. Narcissists gradually consume your time, energy, and eventually your freedom. Acts of love morph into demands for control, criticisms, and endless conflicts. A woman once shared how she gave up a promising career because her husband convinced her that family is more important, but once she became fully dependent on him, she found herself needing his permission for even the smallest things like buying a cup of coffee. Wise monk warned, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." Fear of losing the relationship, guilt, and the urge to meet their expectations force you to endure unnecessary pain. Slowly, you forget your dreams, values, and joys. What began as a subtle pinprick of evil has grown into a towering oak, its roots tightly gripping your life. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of seeing yourself clearly and honestly. When faced with such a relationship, ask yourself, am I truly receiving something good, or is this taking more from me than it gives? A narcissistic relationship doesn't just destroy love. It consumes your work, friendships, finances, and every corner of your life. But Buddha reminds us the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By fortifying your mind, understanding your worth, and rejecting manipulation, you can escape this evil and rebuild your life. Remember, no love is worth more than your inner freedom and peace. Number 2, target empathic and agreeable people in the realm of relationships, especially those involving narcissists. Their lies are harsh but undeniable truth. They gravitate toward empathetic and accommodating individuals. These people, often with generous hearts, are willing to prioritize others' needs over their own. Yet this unconditional kindness makes them ideal targets for manipulation and control. Empathy, viewed through the Buddhist lens, is more than just understanding others' emotions. It is a rational practice of discerning what is truly good versus what merely appears so. Empathy isn't blind compassion that diminishes self-worth, but the ability to acknowledge another's pain while maintaining clarity of mind. Unfortunately, in reality, empathy is often misconstrued as unconditional surrender, a habit of putting others first without considering whether it's justified. When empathy falls into the hands of the undeserving, it ceases to be a virtue and becomes a vulnerability. Buddhism reminds us that every action, even those born of kindness, must be guided by wisdom and awareness. Empathy transforms from a guiding light into a shadow that obscures our resolve, paving the way for manipulation and harm. Narcissists are quick to recognize this to them. Empathetic individuals are like gold mines, people not only willing to endure, but feeling obligated to heal them. Imagine meeting someone new, charming and self-assured, who shares tales of deep personal wounds. Their words awaken your compassion, convincing you that you are uniquely equipped to help them heal over time. However, you realize these stories were not heartfelt confessions, but tools of manipulation. They do not seek healing, they crave control. You find yourself bearing their emotional burdens, their demands growing incessantly, leaving you drained and weary. Wise monk once wrote, "He who is brave is free." But in such relationships, mustering the courage to set boundaries is no small feat for empathetic individuals. Patience and tolerance often masquerade as virtues. They sacrifice believing their concessions preserve harmony. Yet have you ever paused to ask, are these efforts truly building a relationship or merely fostering one-sided sacrifice that leads to loss? One story I recall is of a woman celebrated for her selflessness. She entered a relationship with a narcissist who initially lavished her with praise, making her feel indispensable, but soon the flattery turned into relentless demands. "If you truly love me, you'll do this for me," he would say. Each refusal was met with guilt-laden reproach, forcing her to relent. Her kindness, instead of being cherished, became a trap that stole her freedom and happiness. When you recognize your empathy is being exploited, it's vital to pause and ask yourself, is this sacrifice truly worth it? Am I losing myself to maintain this relationship? A key Buddhist exercise involves distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. When dealing with a narcissist, you cannot change them, but you can set clear boundaries for yourself. This can be daunting, especially when you fear that standing firm may jeopardize the relationship. Yet consider this as a relationship worth preserving if it is destroying you. One young man's story offers a powerful example. He found himself entangled in a relationship with a narcissistic friend, believing it was his duty to save her from her struggles. But when he decided to establish boundaries, refusing to answer messages immediately or engaging in trivial arguments, her anger revealed her frustration at losing control over him. That decision not only freed him from a toxic relationship, but also brought him peace and autonomy. Empathy is not a flaw, but when unchecked, it becomes a tool for exploitation. Buddhism teaches that freedom comes not from pleasing others, but from living true to one's values. If you are an empathetic person, remember that your kindness is a precious gift, one that must be given selectively. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is by disregarding things that lie beyond our control in relationships with narcissists. Only by setting boundaries can you truly safeguard your inner strength and preserve your sense of self. Number 3, test the waters and take control after exploiting your empathy and willingness to compromise to establish initial control. Narcissists don't stop there. They escalate to a more sophisticated tactic, testing your limits. This is the phase where they begin to assess how much you are willing to endure, sacrifice, and tolerate to maintain the relationship. Subtle acts seemingly harmless, like light criticism or temporary emotional withdrawal, quickly escalate into larger manipulations where threats and control take center stage. At this point, it's no longer about holding your emotions hostage. It's about pushing you into a spiral where they dominate, and you find yourself proving your worth by clinging to a relationship that's no longer balanced when you beg them to stay. Even apologizing for things you didn't do wrong, you unknowingly hand them a powerful tool, the ability to control you. You become part of a manipulation cycle, reduced to being the keeper of the relationship, sacrificing yourself to prevent its collapse. Buddhism reminds us that the only thing truly within our control is ourselves. How we respond to threats and manipulation determines whether we become victims or remain steadfast. Yet navigating these situations is far from easy. Narcissists excel at creating a sense of crisis and anxiety, making you fear losing the rare moments of goodness. In the relationship, though, these moments are fleeting. You clinging to them as if they were a lifeline, unaware that this very attachment is what binds you. Imagine yourself in such a relationship after a minor argument. Your partner threatens to leave, claiming they're exhausted and want to end things panicked. You try to soothe them, even blaming yourself for trivial matters. You beg them to stay, believing it's the only way to save the relationship. They return, acting loving and kind for a few days before the cycle starts again. This isn't just manipulation. It's a constant test of your limits. How much will you endure to keep them? How far will you go to make sacrifices? But do you really need to? Buddha once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This wisdom underscores that your worth isn't defined by others. Someone who regularly threatens to leave doesn't deserve your effort. They don't respect you or provide the safety and peace your soul needs. So why hold on? A woman once shared that her husband frequently used the threat of divorce to control her. Whenever she didn't comply with his wishes, he'd claim he couldn't take it anymore and would leave out of fear. She would apologize and agree to his demands, even when they were unfair. Each time she unknowingly handed him more power to manipulate her emotions and behavior. One day, however, she came across Epictetus' words, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This inspired her to realize that true freedom comes from rejecting things beyond her control, including her husband's relentless threats.